Welcome back to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I'm Captain Jack, and you should try my buried treasure.
Whoa.
I love Captain Jack's buried treasure.
I had to Google what that was. I didn't know.
How do you not know what? Oh, my God. How do you call yourself?
I don't know the last time I've been to Ale House.
What? You're a Tampa Bay Bucks fan. You should live at Ale House.
I think the last time I went was when you guys took me and Ross for our Christmas dinner or Christmas luncheon.
That's the last time we saw Ross.
Like 4 years ago.
I like how they're like, you know what everybody likes in Central Florida? Deep sea fishing.
We'll get to that. Look, we'll do a whole show on my love for Captain Jack's buried treasure. But we have a very special guest on the line. A lot of times we have questions that we talk about on the show, and then we do this thing where it's amazing. We do have the internets in front of us. Mm-hmm. We do have the Googles. But it's for some reason, it's just always better to get one of our smart listeners or smart friends to call into the show and explain things to us. It just feels better. So we have a good friend of the show and founder, Amen's on the line. And do you remember when we started talking about the fishing line?
I feel like we've talked about it many times.
Around New York? Yeah, we're fascinated by it.
There's a fishing line called an Eruv around Manhattan in New York. And Amen's going to tell us a little bit about it because this is your area of expertise. So tell us a little bit about what you do and your credentials, sir.
So I went to law school, and I'm a lawyer, and I specialize in constitutional law.
There you go.
And a lot of those issues that come up are law and religion issues. So I have a master's in law and religion in addition to my JD. And so one of the things that I've done research on and I've talked to people about and I've worked with people on is on Eruvs, and a lot of the different accommodations that people make due to their specific religious practices.
Yeah, the Eruv, or Eruv as I mispronounced it, the Eruv. It's cool that we have somebody that actually specializes in both Constitution and how that affects how we can, even practice our religions, right? It's fascinating.
Yeah, and the Eruv stuff is really interesting because it like I've heard stories, for example, in Atlanta where I live, there's a large group, there's like different neighborhoods where there's large contingent of like Jewish population, Orthodox Jews, and there's synagogues and things like that, and Eruvs basically help people have communities, because if you don't have an Eruv, you can't really carry anything on the weekend, which means you don't leave your house for the most part, or at least it's really difficult, so people aren't able to go hang out.
Amen.
Isn't that what?
Hold on.
Yeah.
We've talked to you before, right?
Yeah, he's
in
been
a
in
weird
here.
job. Yeah.
He's been in here before. Like when we get into like sticky, almost like normally it's like a law, constitution, religion, things that we don't fully understand, and then there are these like weird, almost like what do you call it? Loopholes and things. Like this is the guy we call. This is our guy.
Well, this is one of my favorite subjects, and Amen, if you've got a second, because I have a lot to ask you about because.
Well, let me stop you just 1 second.
Yes.
I feel bad because this is one of those awkward scenarios where you guys keep mispronouncing my name, and when it was just the one time, I'm like, okay, I'm going to
wait.
I'm going up what Daniel said.
Amen.
I thought it was admin, and then I was like, oh no, they're coming for us.
And I said amen, and then I was like, should I say amen?
Amen. Amen. Almond.
Amen.
Amin.
That's
Ameed.
Ameed.
Amin.
I'm not mean. You're mean.
Paul?
Who's on first?
How
bad?
Amin. So
I'm gonna go back and digitally alter all of our amens to make them digital amens.
I knew your real name. Daniel said it wrong, and then I just go with Daniel says because I assume I'm an idiot.
I have no problem being wrong, and I was wrong.
But do you have a problem being Amin?
I'm not Amin. I don't know what you mean.
Can I call you Fred?
No.
What happened to a good old-fashioned Fred?
Call him Ned like Carlos Mencia.
Okay,
Carlos Mencia's real name is Ned. Okay.
No.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say there's a ton of people, because my background is Persian, and so there's like a bunch of people who come over here, they have a certain name, and then like the second they start going to work or something, it suddenly becomes Frank or Joe, or it somehow changes. It's like some little derivation of their original name.
Yeah, no, I'm just glad you had the balls to tell us, hey guys, you're getting it wrong, get it right.
Now, Amin, this is how stupid
Yeah.
I am. First, when you said you're Persian, I immediately thought you were fancy. And second,
He is
Yeah,
fancy.
that's what we want.
and
Every time he's been in here, he's worn a suit.
Yeah. Like, I wish I was Persian. Like, I'm a boring,
Oh.
old, fake Indian honky. Just like everybody in Florida. And I said something insensitive because
You're
I'm so ignorant.
You are as exotic as a Sour Patch Kid.
Yeah.
You
I
are-
wish I was Persian.
You're trash candy.
I'd love to tell people that. And second, this is how stupid I am. I have no idea what that means. And don't know where that is from. I know it's Sandy.
So it's a lot of people say they're Persian because like it just sounds better sometimes. But really, my parents are from Iran. I was born in Orlando. I grew up there, and then I just came to Atlanta for law school. But
Yeah, I knew the
a lot of
answer to
people will
that.
say-
Tiffany's husband
Yeah, what?
is Persian.
He is, yes. Yeah, and I think there's a stand-up comic in Atlanta who is, or not in Atlanta, in Orlando there who's Persian. I want to say her name is Shireen.
Yeah, Shireen
Oh, yeah,
Kassan.
yeah.
Yeah, we love Shireen
Yeah,
Kassan.
and and then I can't remember her name, but there is a state rep in Orlando who is Persian. A woman, I think it's Iskamian or something like that is her last name. Big Tim would know because I think Big Tim has worked with her in the past. So
Very cool.
We're sort of everywhere but nowhere.
I love it.
So before we go into
That's
this,
exotic. I like
mean, how did you get into listening to me and Daniel, and why do you do it? Because we're seemingly so dumb, and then you are a super smart Persian.
So I grew up in Orlando, and like I guess it would be like 6th or 7th grade. I did that thing where you get headphones, right? So you start listening to the radio, and when you're driving to school in the morning shows are on, and then really even going further back, my parents probably started listening to 104.1 years ago. They were listening to Jim Phillips, and so like somewhere in the
Smarter
process,
show.
I was listening to talk shows. I was listening to local radio 104.1, and I was listening to music. But at some point, I stopped listening to as much music. But I still listen to a lot of local radio, in particular you guys, but and in some podcasts as well. And so that's kind of how it is. You know, I was younger, I was dumber, and I become more intelligent, but the stupid stuff stays the same. So
Yes, we've stayed the same. You've grown, my boy.
It's nostalgia, like watching Commando. It's
Yeah.
so bad, but every time it's on, you
gotta
have to
watch it.
listen. You have to watch
Yeah,
it.
you have to watch it.
Because the nostalgia says it's good, but it's a horrible
Yeah, it's a mess.
movie.
And it gets worse with age, too. It doesn't age well.
Written poorly.
Yeah, it's a lot
Anyway.
of mistakes.
So let's start off with
I was so hoping you would call him a man.
because I feel like it's hard to have a intelligent conversation about this and not be disrespectful to someone's religion, because in one aspect we're saying like this seems illogical or ridiculous, but in another but not to mean that it's disrespectful anyway, right?
Well, I think the concept, simply put, it's very difficult for us to understand why you would be willing to believe so wholeheartedly in something, yet find ways to cheat that thing you believe
to cheat
in.
the system.
That, to me, like, it's got to be very, very difficult. And if you truly believe, or maybe that's your calling, or if that's what you want to do, let's say you want to be in that, it would be very difficult for me to navigate those
It's the
waters.
loophole.
Yeah, I don't like the.
But I love cheating the system. It's my honestly my favorite
Yeah,
thing
but you're
to do.
not religious. You
Right.
would think religious people wouldn't want to cheat the system, right? If they want to go to heaven. I don't know.
So
No,
I mean, what
but-
say you? Because we're gonna do this all day.
yeah.
So I think the first thing to talk about is it's worth mentioning. I've worked with people in this field and all these sorts of things, but I myself I'm not an Orthodox Jew, right? And,
Right.
And I'm gonna try to avoid speaking on behalf of Orthodox Jews and Judaism in general.
Makes
but
sense, yeah.
I think one of the things that's important to consider is that within Judaism there's this idea that you should practice your religious beliefs and you should follow the commandments, but you don't follow what's extra, right? You don't push yourself and try to cover things that God doesn't want you to do, because at the same time, while God is giving you commandments, God is also saying, I want you to live. I want you to experience all the things that you're allowed to experience within that area. So I think a good example is you see people who are like really religious, right? And the religious people say, well, you know what? I'm so religious. God says not to drink alcohol, or God says not to. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but God says not to do something, so I'm going to take it a step further. Well, I mean, you could do that, right? But then you're doing something that God or whatever you believe in isn't necessarily asking you to do. You're going above and beyond. And Judaism, in many ways, says we have been given these very strict things to follow, and as long as we follow them, what we do within this area is different and is acceptable. Oh. And I guess the other thing I would also add is that you still have discussion within these religious traditions about these issues. So just because one person says, hey, you know, this counts as an Eruv, another person is going to say it doesn't.
Right.
And there's different levels of orthodoxy and different levels of people who, you know, there's such things as kosher cell phones. And kosher cell phones are cell phones that people have designed that can't go on the internet. They basically are like the ladybug telephones, right? They're only designed for making outbound calls and sometimes some inbound calls. And so there are people who walk around with kosher cell phones. You'll see them a lot in Orthodox areas in like New York and parts of like Brooklyn and stuff like that. But like,
that's cool.
I know plenty of people who have iPhones who play games and do whatever they want and have video games. And so it really does come down to your belief and your orthodoxy, but within that, there is also this concern of, follow what you're being told to do, don't necessarily invent your own problem.
Huh. So let's talk about the string, because there's a lot of these. In fact, I told you I bought my oven recently, and then it had a setting on there where
Sabbath mode.
It could turn on timed, where you don't have to touch it. But back to the string. So, like, how can the string be any length? Like, let's talk about the different rules of the string and what all that encompasses the string.
So the string itself, as I understand it, it's a symbolic issue. What you're doing is on the Sabbath, you're not supposed to carry things outside of your home, because the idea is you're supposed to relax. You're supposed to rest. You've worked 6 days already. You should relax on this last day, and relax within your home if possible. And if you go outside your home, don't carry anything. Don't do any work. And so what the Eruv does is the Eruv basically is this idea inherited from the idea of like a fortress, right? Like a fortress, you would count as being your home. You would count as living within the city walls, right? And so the benefit of putting up the string is that you are symbolically extending that wall. You're making that wall larger. And what that means practically is if you live in a neighborhood where you have a lot of people who are Jewish, they otherwise can't go to each other's homes, right? Like maybe they can sort of do a hide-a-key thing, but they can't carry a hot plate of food. They couldn't push a baby stroller. They couldn't carry their purse. So the Eruv makes it possible symbolically for this area to be all one house or all one sort of fortress or village. And so that lets people transport and move between the area.
So
as for the string itself, you'll normally see it around the like telephone lines or the power lines, and usually every Friday night or Friday afternoon there'll be a team of people who will drive around the entire Eruv. They'll go around and they'll trace the line to make sure that the line is still connected. And if the line for some reason is broken or something, they'll quickly contact as many people as they can and tell them, hey, the Eruv is broken, the line is down. Maybe this weekend, if you have plans, just stay home until we're able to put the Eruv up so that you don't accidentally violate any command.
Yeah, it's true. Like they have a bucket truck, they have a construction company that they employ. Before you start bitching, we don't pay for that. It's private donations. They raise money every single year. It costs between $150,000 and possibly $200,000 a year to keep it up. And they have a rabbi that will go around with the construction crew, and he's the one that gets in the cherry picker to fix the.
Are you serious?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually did a lot of reading about this, knowing that this.
So what does he like? Bless the string?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got to be part of it, right? You can't get Jerry up there to do it. He's not Jewish.
Yeah. So I mean,
I don't know the rules.
I know, it's pretty interesting, man.
What interests me is that I was with you when you were talking about, like, because then I started to understand when you were saying, well, it's all subjective, kind of your own personal religion.
Yeah, you're opting in.
It means what it means to you, and you can go above and beyond. You can follow the commandments, but it's kind of it's an interpretation. It's a practice, just like your practice. And someone's practice is going to be different than other people's practice,
or their level of dedication,
and their
sure.
their level of dedication, and it all kind of matters in the intent of trying to follow the rules, right?
Yeah.
And so that made sense to me. It's like, all right.
It makes sense to me, too. It's like you're giving me something so I can still continue my faith. Look at it less of a loophole.
But but this is then what confuses me is that when you further go on to say, like, all right, I understand the symbolic string. I understand the fact that, all right, my intent is to follow the religion, therefore I'm putting the string to make this barrier. It's blessed. I'm doing all I can so I can still follow my religion but still live my life, because that's the point of this whole thing, is to live your life happy and as long as you're dedicated. What's weird to me, though, is that you're then saying someone's actually checking the string, and if any piece of it's broken, then they're calling everybody. You're like, watch out, a piece of it's broken, don't go out. So then it's like, well, the whole thing is about the intent of doing it, and the string.
Can we get something sturdier than a string?
Well, the string's not magic, so then it's like, well, is it the intent, or is it they actually believe that God is, and if the string is broken and they went out, they blew it.
Don't you know what I'm saying? But don't you have to give well, hold on. Don't you have to give a series of purpose to something, or you have a purpose of nothing? The string has to have, in order for them to adhere to it, something has to be a, what do you call that? Like the main, or the, I don't know, the main idea is the string. You have to have a point of something that you're fixing and always keeping up, because if you don't, then why even believe in anything?
Yeah, but is it symbolic or is it supernatural? Because if the string,
I don't think it's supernatural.
But if the string,
I think it is, though, right? If you have the rabbi blessing it and
based
putting
on
it up and making sure.
But based on what it means saying, it's up to you to determine if it is supernatural or if it's right.
Well,
it's based on how much you
religion is all supernatural.
It's both. It's both, right? And I think this is actually
to a lot of people it's not. Tom. To a lot of people, religion is not supernatural. It might be a practice that they do that keeps their life in order.
Yeah. So I think a good way of looking at it is that this actually worked out to be the perfect week for it, right? This past Sunday was Palm Sunday. We have Good Friday this Friday,
Boom.
And we have Easter this Sunday, right? And so you're talking about people who there are some people who literally believe that wine becomes the blood of Christ when it's consecrated. There are some people who believe it still remains wine and it symbolizes wine.
Right.
And there are some people who say you don't need to use wine, you can use grape juice, and that's perfectly fine. And so I think what you're hitting on is different traditions and different interpretations. That's how you end up with different religions. And then to sort of put a total spin on it, think of this as a gambler. Put it in your context, right? Someone who gambles. Yeah, I know you would. Someone who gambles, or someone who watches a ton of sports, or people who are like, when I get up during the seventh inning stretch, I'm not allowed to go on the right side of the room anymore, because if I do, then
superstition.
They're gonna strike it, right? And so we sit there, and there are people who look at these people with superstitions and go, "Wow, you're being ridiculous." And I go, "No, I've been doing this for years." And every single year every single year I get up during the halftime show and I don't watch it, Tom Brady throws a great pass in the second half. You could say it's because Tom Brady is an amazing football player, or you could say it's because this person does that. And so the key here is whether it impacts your life or not, and generally it doesn't, it's an easy thing to do, right? The guy's going to keep getting up during the seventh inning stretch. He's going to avoid watching the halftime show, and he's going to observe his religious practices. And so I think when you get bogged down too much in the how could they do this? Why could they do this? There's plenty of examples of where we do this, right? There was you guys talked about it before, about the example of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, right?
Yep.
That there's somebody sitting there 24 hours a day. That is a great example of ritual that is completely not religious, right? That is quote unquote American ritual, American tradition, right?
Yeah. It's a patriotic thing. Sure.
And it's a patriotic thing, and so I think it's the way I process it in my head is I become less fixated on on what it is attached to, right? And I acknowledge that it is something that somebody wants to do,
Sure.
and that it's a good thing to give them the ability to do it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't hurt them, right? There are also public policy concerns. Like, we don't want people hurting themselves, hurting other people, harming things in certain ways. And so as long as that is true, then I think as a country we're pretty much okay with the idea of people being able to practice their beliefs.
And that's
Yeah,
probably
no,
the why they
100%.
tried to make it fishing line,
Well-
right? Because that's what I was trying to think. I mean, everybody's question,
Well,
Sam's big question was why fishing line? I mean, it seems very unobtrusive, you know, like it seems like something very
And-
simple.
Yeah, you wouldn't really see it.
Right.
Yeah, you want think about it. You want something that is going to stay up, that doesn't need a ton of maintenance. It's not trying to structurally do anything. It's just a line running around in a circle that is complete. And so, yeah, like if you really want to, you could sit there and build a giant wall around the entire area, but it's going to cost you millions and millions
Why
of
don't
dollars.
you just
Well-
map
And
it out and you tell your followers where the boundaries are
Well-
without putting anything up?
That,
No, that-
But you need some sort of physical. Well, and I'll say this: currently, you need some sort of physical thing. I'm trying to imagine a scenario where you could have a virtual Eruv, and I bet you if you had a virtual Eruv, you could say, you know what, we have an internet signal that's going from point
Yeah.
A to point B to point C to point D. There might be some people who would be on board with that, but there's going to be just as many people who say, nah, you can't do that,
Yeah.
because it has to be some sort of physical connection.
Who gets to
kinda
make
what-
the rules, though? I
That's
guess
kind of
each-
what I was trying to
Everybody,
temple?
everybody interprets the rules
Right. So it's
differently.
individually.
It's individual, yeah.
right,
yeah.
and that's
Not,
what
like,
that's what I was
tempo-wise.
trying to say about the needing it. I do think you need something physical. You need a focal point, and the fishing line's perfect for that because it's an actual tangible thing.
Well, if it's
But-
individual, you don't need anything, right?
Well,
for
Only if
certain
you decide
for
to.
certain individuals,
I
not
ju-
for everybody.
I just realized my dream job, actually, and maybe
Oh,
when I
God.
retire,
you want to assist the rabbi and be the bucket truck man?
I will assist all religions in figuring out loopholes.
All right, loophole religion guy.
Because I'm just thinking, I was
That
like,
is a specialty job.
I bet if you go down and the pipes, like the sewer systems and the water pipes of New York, like that's physical, and you could figure out the grid that squares things off and have a rabbi bless the pipes, and then therefore you don't
could
even
run
have to.
You could run a line through the pipes, couldn't you?
Just the pipes themselves
No, I
is
know.
actually a physical barrier as much as a string is, and
Yeah,
then
but
you.
then you could say the same thing about just power lines, right?
No.
Well, there's lots of we can come up with
now
loopholes all
now
day.
you guys have gone
So,
crazy.
I mean, let's talk about some other ones, because I know like my oven
Sure.
my oven has like a Sabbath mode, and where either I could block myself from using it or time it so it turns on in the morning,
His
lunch,
kosher
and dinner.
cell phone thing, I'm fascinated
Yeah,
by.
the kosher cell phone. Also, to what extent it doesn't matter if you're carrying things? Does your keys, does your clothes matter?
Right.
You know, like does your cell phone? I mean, just walking out of your house.
Sorry, can't carry my underwear.
Yeah.
I'm new.
So you would wear clothes. You can wear clothes. Belts are fine generally. Cell phones are a no-go. Wallets are a no-go. Keys are a no-go. What you find with a lot of people too is you can. I meant to send this to Sam, but Sam can look it up. There are these things called Shabbos belts, and Shabbos belts are basically, imagine a belt that you put around yourself to wear your clothes up, right?
Yeah.
But in the middle of the belt where you would normally have a buckle, there is instead a mechanism that basically uses your key as the buckle. And so the idea is that you can't carry your keys because you're not supposed to carry anything, but you need to have your key to be able to leave the house. So this belt is a functional belt that functions with your key, which essentially lets you transport your key from point A to point B, but really what you're doing is you're just wearing a belt. And so some people believe that a Shabbos belt is a good compromise. And Shabbos, Shabbos, and then belt is belt. And there's people who believe that this is a good compromise, and so some people wear Shabbos belts where there isn't an Eruv. Because the other option is what? You either don't leave, or you leave your key hiding under a rock
Oh
somewhere.
man, I
But
just
you do
found
that every
this
single-
awesome website called it's called Greenfield Judea, and man, they got all of the scam products. They got
They're gonna have all the-
they got them. They got the Shabbos light switches. They got the Shabbos
Look
belts.
at this, I can
Like, what
get
do
a
you
golden
want?
Shabbat belt with
Yeah,
butterflies
what do you
on
want
it.
to turn on? They got a Shabbos for it. They got something for everybody. They, like now that I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. It's going too
man.
far.
Well, I mean, okay, so if we are trying to explain it or rationalize it, I guess,
That's
and that's
insanely cool, man.
and
wow.
I guess I have the hardest time figuring figuring this out because I don't really have any tradition, and I'm kind of sad. Like I respect the discipline, I respect the tradition. When I respect that people have rules and guidelines and follow and faith and like things like that. Obviously everybody we're in America. You should be able to do whatever you want to do. That's your own business as long as it doesn't bother anybody else. And I wholeheartedly agree with everything.
It's all it's all in how you look at it too. Like we could say loophole, right? Or we could say that whatever, like the key thing, right? Making the key part of your clothes. I know a lot of people are going to say, you're cheaping out. You're making the key part of your clothes. Or it was the mindfulness of you having to be creative to keep your key that was part of the religion. It's just mindfulness, right? You're not trying to cheat God. You can't, right? Let's go with that. All you're doing it's just mindfulness. And yes, of course you made the key part of it because you're part of the religion and it's just something that you do. You see what I'm saying? Like, we're making it negative. Loophole is negative.
Well, is Daniel correct? It's the intent, which I love, by the way. I say that all the time. Like, whatever someone's intent.
I'm not cheating God. He knows I'm making the key part of my clothing. This is just my way of honoring the religion.
So, that's it. Okay, now I'm starting to understand. And that's the key is, like, your intent
You're
is...
making an attempt to follow the rules.
You accept the line around Manhattan. You accept it and you abide by it to respect your religion. That is your opt-in. That is your way of saying, yes, I know what it is, but I respect it because I'm all in on this thing. And I respect this religion and I love you guys.
So there's no part of this where they actually believe they're fooling God, right?
Yeah, it's not about fooling God.
It's making adjustments.
Making adjustments and trying to observe your life in a way that fits within the rules
and still respect. Yeah, and making the key part of the thing, to me, is your way of, look, I can go in and out, but I'm also respecting my religion and my God by not, like, outwardly breaking the rules.
I mean, before technology made a lot of this more possible, and obviously technology helped engineering and all that stuff, like years ago, they used to hire non-Jewish people to basically come in and then like turn on the lights for you or cook for that kind of thing. And
sounds amazing.
So what you're talking about, and I've been one before. I've done this before. You're talking about what's called a Shabbos goy. So Shabbos is the Sabbath, and goy is someone who's not Jewish. And so you can have someone who turns on lights and who does things for you when you're unable to. A good example is I went to this was a couple of years ago when there was a huge snowstorm in Atlanta. And on that Friday night, they had scheduled some sort of like fundraiser. They were having someone come in and they were doing like a talk.
Sure.
And so they were serving dinner and doing all kinds of things. The problem is the person that they had hired who was going to come in and help them turn on the oven and do all the things couldn't make it because of the snowstorm. They couldn't drive in. And so one of my professors looked at me and says, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow night? We need some help on this. There's something you want to do." I said, "Sure, of course." And so I showed up, and I got paid a little bit of money, not a ton of money for it, right? But basically, I showed up, I had dinner, I made sure that if there's any lights that needs to be turned on, I turned them off or turned them off. I made sure the oven was working, and I basically did the things they couldn't do. Now, on a grander scheme, right, I probably wouldn't be necessary, and as things become more automated, I won't become necessary, or such a thing wouldn't become necessary. But a good example as well is... so this is one of my favorite stories. When I spent about 2 or 3 months overseas in Israel, working for the Supreme Court of Israel, and so that meant like late at night or whatever I went for walks and stuff. Because especially
hold on a second.
Holy moly!
You just see the faces of all of us. We were like, we got us a listener that worked for the Supreme Court of Israel.
We should not be talking to you.
Holy moly!
But what ended up happening is that one Friday night, because the Friday nights are the best time to go for a walk. The weather's fantastic. The roads and streets are completely empty.
Yeah.
And like you can just go for a walk. And so I'm walking out there. I'm sitting there. I'm probably listening. I was listening to my iPod. It was probably a podcast. It was probably you guys.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there on the corner, and I see this couple come walking up. It's this couple. They look to be about in their late 30s or 40s, and you can clearly tell they're Orthodox Jews. They're dressed in such a way. And the woman walks up to me and says, "Are you an American?" I said, "Yeah, I'm an American." And I start talking, and I talk a little bit to her. She goes, "Hey, can you help with?" I said, "No." I just say, "It's fine. Don't say anything. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what she's asking about." Her English wasn't that fantastic.
Yeah.
So I followed them back to their apartment, which was a couple blocks away. When I walked into the apartment, I see like 5 kids in the living room playing. I see an older couple, which must be someone's mom or dad, sitting on the couch. And I asked the woman, where is it? And she points to the kitchen. And I walk right past everybody. I walk straight into the kitchen, and I go, is it this? And I point to the refrigerator. She says, yes. I open up the refrigerator, and the light turns on. And so I go over, and there's a switch, and I put the refrigerator in Sabbath mode. Because the problem was someone had forgotten to put the refrigerator in Sabbath mode, which meant whenever you open that door, the light will turn on.
Yeah, and if you don't get it all done by a certain time, that's what I was reading, right?
Well, it's the actual doing an act.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't do it by sundown, on Friday, you can't turn it off. Right. It's not. You can't do the work. The idea is when it's time to rest. It's time to rest.
Yeah.
And so what I did, had I not done that, they would not have been able to open their fridge that night for religious reasons. And so that's why you have an oven that's in Sabbath mode. The oven in Sabbath mode is designed to turn on and off at certain times, so that all you have to do is open the oven, put the food in, and when you know it's time to take it out, you take it out, and the oven heats it normally. And it's actually it's a safety reason that you're able to have ovens like that now. If you go and you look up in New York, there's examples of people who use hot plates, and basically they turn on the hot plate Friday night and they leave it on all day, and they turn it off Saturday night, and they use the hot plate to warm their food during the Sabbath. And the problem is that if you're living in a really small apartment and you have a really crappy hot plate and you don't take care of it, there have been examples of house fires where people have died because of the hot plate. And so having something like a Sabbath oven is perfect, because Sabbath oven means that you can keep an eye on the oven and you're not just having a sort of open flame going on, because that's what they traditionally would have done. Traditionally, they would have an open fire going.
Our Twitch chat room actually came up with a pretty fairly decent question. I don't think you were making a joke, but I would think of this too. And Tom's brain's probably going this direction too, because I know you're thinking all the technology that's out there that could be taken advantage of, especially if you're going to start your new religious business. But Innate Mass says, can they use Google Assistant or Alexa to do tasks, or can you automate your home in any way? Is that still, or does that matter to your level of opting in? Right? It all comes back to what you're comfortable with as a Jewish person.
Well, I bet if you're old school, no. If you're new school, just like everything, that the newer Orthodox Jews probably adopt technology better than the older.
Adopt and adapt, right?
Well, I think you'd have to look into it. My hunch is that you can't, only because it's more analogous to a light switch, right? Sure. And so another example of something I'll give is a Sabbath elevator. And so the way a Sabbath elevator works is that when an elevator is in Sabbath mode, it opens and closes on every floor, and it stops on every floor for 30 seconds. And so if you are living in an apartment building with 5 floors and you're an old person, you live on the 5th floor, and it's Sabbath, you'd walk down, you'd go to your elevator, right? And you'd sit there and wait. When the elevator comes to you, it'll open, you'll step in it, and it'll take you 5 or 6 minutes to go up the 5 flights, because it's got to go and open up on every single floor. But it's way easier than going up 5 flights of stairs, right? And so that's an example, I think, of modern technology being adapted to satisfy something like that. And people would say that is, some people would disagree with Sabbath elevators. They'd say it's violating the Sabbath. And other people would say, no, it's not, because the elevator was going to open and close whether you were there or not. Right?
I think you subconsciously said Sabbathified too. I like that. You invented a word. I really enjoyed that.
Maybe.
You know what? I speaking with you is enlightening me to understanding religion better, because I think everybody can hear this, and even me, I could be, you can make jokes and be like, well, you're it's the loophole. You're finding a loophole in the system, and you're taking advantage of it, or you're kind of creating your own interpretation of like I could do this but not this and that, and then if you're actually like looking at the pure logic of it, you're just like, oh well, this is ridiculous, or this is like it doesn't, just turn on the light, it's fine, and then apologize for it after. I don't. But then I started thinking about it like someone who's dedicated their life to running, right? Let's say like this, and then or exercise, and someone that said, I'm going to run every morning or every day for 3 miles, 5 miles, because that's your process. Yeah. And then if there's a hurricane outside, then people are like, oh, you don't have to run today. You're fit. You're fine. You've been running for years. And you're like, no, I have to run. And they run outside, or they run in place in their house or whatever.
That's a decent example, too, yeah.
And then you're like, why are you doing it? You can skip a day.
No, Seth is that guy.
Yes.
Seth is the...
That's his religion.
Seth to exercise is Orthodox Jew to Eruv. Like
everything. It doesn't. It's about mentally dedicating yourself to something.
Where's your commitment level?
And committing yourself.
Oh, I'm not committed to nothing.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, you are. No, yes, you are. To Travis. To your husband.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm just saying. No,
he almost died of COVID.
But we all have
I still came to work.
You told him to stay home. You're like, hey, you're being a wuss.
You're fine.
But anyway, so
he's not committed at all.
And I'm sorry, like if people are like, well, yeah, of course that's what it is, but I'm literally just realizing it and equating it and respecting it.
See, there are plenty of people like you that hear about this thing and go like, this is stupid. I think everybody's initial answer is that, but that's not what we wanted to do with Amin. We wanted to get him on here,
and educate ourselves, and understand. And not just make fun. Because
now, I'm going to bust something that we did last time Amin was on the show. We had him on, and I think we had the same thing. We get to the end of it, and we're like, this was great. Let's do it again. And then we don't do it again.
No.
But we need to. We need to schedule him to help educate us on things like this because this is fun.
Well,
hey, thanks for your time,
man.
Well,
I got a couple more questions for me.
Yeah.
I'm interested if there's anything else we missed because I didn't know about the kosher cell phone. And is that because nowadays you have to have a cell phone or at least be able to take calls for emergency, but the internet...
You're not supposed to be on the phone on Shabbos, right?
Yeah, so...
I learned that from
it's people who need to be able to make emergency phone calls, and there's also, as people become more involved in secular life, they need to be able to sort of like be able to make like I have not had a home telephone in years. I only use my cell phone, and so I know a couple of people who are Orthodox Jews who are in the same situation, and so you need to have more cell phones because you need to be able to reach people. It's just a convenience issue, but it's also it's a little more interesting because if you look at something like I'm sure Daniel has bought stuff from either Adorama or BH Photo. I think those are both photo businesses and they also do a bunch of those are owned by Orthodox Jews. And so if you look for an example, I'm pretty sure both those businesses are owned by Orthodox Jews, and I'm pretty sure both of them are closed Friday nights and Saturdays.
You're correct. Yeah. That's I never knew why though. I always it's funny because some answers to your questions I don't. I never get as far as even questioning it. I just thought it was their normal business practices, or maybe their grandfather always did business that way. I don't know. That's interesting.
I mean, have they figured out a loophole for the clothes? And I'll explain. I've got a temple literally probably 100 yards from my house, and there's a lot of Orthodox Jewish people that live in my neighborhood. So every Saturday I see them walking to temple, and man, they a lot of them have like black full length clothes in the dead of summer.
Yeah, it's very much like I'm watching it, or my wife's watching that show about I guess Orthodox Jews. And they dress like with the curls. It's very, very grandiose.
And then every time I see that, I'm like, man, it's hot. And like that, is there some sort of shorts or some other Florida?
So the clothing is a little bit rougher because clothing was pretty well defined back then. And I think another problem is that a lot of the clothing you're seeing, a lot of these religious traditions, specifically aspects of Orthodox Judaism, certain branches of it, can be traced all the way back to like Eastern Europe. And so something that Sam can also look up is what's called a strimal, S-T-R-E-I-M-E-L. And a strimal it's the same thing that Stephen Colbert, when he wears that big furry hat, it's essentially a strimal. And strimals are these old hats that were worn in like the middle of winter in Eastern Europe, right? Like these things are heavy and they're furry and they're just like really hot, but you will see people wearing them all the time in the dead of winter. And so part of that is it's part of the religious practice, and even in the dead of summer, when it's just absolutely scalding hot, they'll still wear them. But you also see plenty of people who are Orthodox Jews who are wearing, who are wearing modern clothes.
It's a badass hat. It's really
it's
cool.
A very badass hat.
It's really cool. I mean, if I wore that, everyone would think I'd gone insane. But it looks quite fetching on like a true Orthodox Jewish man. Do men and women both wear that?
No, women don't wear shtreimels. Women will often cover their hair, depending on how Orthodox they are. And so actually, there is really, really, really expensive high-end wigs for women.
Oh.
And
I saw that in in that show. They show like
unorthodox.
Yeah, they have the. I watched that. Man, that's terrifying. And it's not. I don't want that to sound like I'm saying it's terrifying because everybody there is terrifying. No, it's just when you're watching something you don't understand and you're seeing the traditions play out. And you don't understand it, and you're like, it's the same thing with the string. You're like, why is this happening? That's a great show, by the way. If anybody wants to try and understand this a little bit more, you can watch those shows. Although I will warn you that it's still entertainment. You know what I mean?
I mean, who?
Yeah. So. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, have you ever seen someone so dedicated that they were literally on Saturday, they took it so seriously that they don't do any loopholes whatsoever, and they are like, I am not even going to eat today, or
Top
I don't know.
Tier dedication.
Well, I guess eating was not work, but it's like I will not do any work.
You mean like letter of the law?
Yeah. Like, have you ever seen The Most Extreme?
I haven't seen anybody, but I'm sure there's somebody out there who does it. One of the most extreme examples, a couple of extreme examples I know of is I know a couple people who've gone to stay in hotels. So they go to stay in the hotel. Maybe they might be traveling or something. And when they go to book into the hotel, they get into their hotel just before sundown, and they walk into their hotel room. And the second they open the door, a light clicks on. And so the problem is now, if they leave their room, the light will click off, or the light will click on again. And so I know people who've spent like 24 hours locked in their hotel room. Like they just sit there and read books because they've got nowhere they can go because they can't do the light switch. And the only other example I can think of off the top of my head that's kind of funny to me is often in Israel you would see people, if you were driving around during the Sabbath, or if you're doing something during the Sabbath, you would see people who would yell at you. They'd yell Shabbos, right? They'd say, it's the Sabbath, what are you doing? And so I remember I was walking down the street, it was like a Friday night, and there was this husband and wife walking with their two little kids who had to be twins. And they were like two little girls who were like 5 years old. And a car came by, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the kids yelled Shabbos at the car. The parents didn't say anything, the kids did it for them. And so...
Shabbat! So the kids were yelling at the car like, hey, you shouldn't be driving.
Exactly, the 5-year-old.
Reminds me of the time there was a hitchhiker, and I stuck my tongue out at him. And he flicked me off, and I cried. I was terrified. I thought he was going to kill me.
Last question. I mean, is there any like way to fix it if you screwed up? Like, say you forgot or you turned on, you broke the rule, like your own rule.
Like for Catholics doing Hail Marys or something? Do
you have to whip yourself in the back with a belt, or do you have to apologize?
I don't know specifically about that issue. I don't know too much about atonement in that way. That's more of a hardcore like Jewish religious tenant issue. Something
I think we could probably get a hold of some other rabbi or somebody and say, like, look, we got into our hotel room, the light came on, we left, the light went out. We felt bad about it. What do I do now?
Yeah, does he tell you
another good example I just thought of is there have been people who have to take medication during fasting, because in Judaism there's certain days of fasting. And so, but there's people who have to take medication because the medication is necessary for them to live.
Correct.
And so the compromise is, well, the commandment to preserve life is greater than the commandment to fast. So therefore, you need to take your medication because it's more important to protect life than it is to observe the commandment to fast. However, when you take the medication, maybe you don't take it with water, because you're not supposed to have, when you fast, you're not supposed to have water. So maybe you just take the medicine by itself. Or there have been examples of when people take the medicine, they take it with vinegar, because vinegar isn't going to help you at all. So they might take a little sip of vinegar to help the medicine go down. As terrible as that sounds.
It all depends on your level. Like, where do you want to be? It's like me. When I go to ride my Peloton, my wife loves to ride the Peloton, right? When I go up, I like to self-punish myself. I don't turn the fan on because I like to sweat hard, right? How dedicated are you? Where do you want to be? So I just leave it hot.
Love it.
I've actually got to go because I'm actually late. I'm almost late for court.
Sorry.
Oh my God, late for court. Oh my God, get out of here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. All right, bye-bye.
We love you. Sorry we got your name wrong.
No, it's okay. It was nice talking to you guys. I'll talk to you later.
Nice talking to you too, man. All right, he's a founder. We got his name wrong. God, I did that. That's my fault. Whipping myself all day about that. You talk about atonement.
And I remember talking to this gentleman on the phone.
I think I called him a man. No, when he was in here, I think I called him a man.
Probably because he said we've mispronounced.
Yes, because I'm thinking amen. I'm religioning in my brain.
Well, we're Florida swamp people. All we know is Fred and Dan and Tom.
Give me a Randy and I'm good all day long. Give me an Amin.
Yeah, we even shorten everyone's names to one syllable.
Watch this. You want me to watch this? Tiffany's husband's name.
Huh?
You're stalling. You're stalling.
Okay. What the hell would you do that? You fucker. You motherfucker.
Bye-bye. Welcome to A Mediocre Time with Tom and Dan. I'm DD Mega Doodoo Fly.
There was a big... That one, that's a different generation.
Okay, we have one of those big... It's black. It's the big black and blue flies. Chunky. They're thick.
No. That one looked like a gnat. Like a doo-doo, like a fruit fly. But
looks like a gnat, but eats like a meal. Like big, fat.
Wait
a minute. I want to bust a myth today on the show. And it just, my mind, goes in many different directions, never the one we're supposed to go in. We're going to get to emails. I just said that, which means we will never get to emails.
I thought of something too.
But I don't believe that players in the NFL ever liked and or ever ate an entire can of Campbell's Chunky Soup.
No.
Ever. Have you had Campbell's Chunkies? Remember the commercials? It was there was a time, as a kid, I grew up on the fake stereotype that NFL players in the National Football Leagues, their mama would insist that they eat Campbell's Chunky Soup, and it's garbage. That never happened. That's fake news. It's not real.
Yeah. Well, that's...
their soup's not good.
Marketing. There's
bad.
900 milligrams of sodium, and there was you can't be an offensive lineman and have that much sodium. You get dehydrated during the game.
Okay, that just had to get that out.
Oh, I want to bust another myth.
Yes.
So,
we're busting myths.
My wife got this helium balloon. I forgot when.
It's the one that she's navigating the entire globe in, right? Currently, right now, with a top hat and goggles on her forehead.
But it was months ago, and it's been floating in the corner of our house for 2 months. And
like the one I got here from Butler?
Yeah. And it got all baggy and
baggy fatso.
Yeah. But it was still floating. And then she's like, "Can you believe how long this thing's been floating?" I'm like, "That's some pure helium." I'm like, "Well, you rarely see that. Like nowadays, everything's diluted."
I said the same thing, although I have zero knowledge to back anything I claimed up.
No,
I said that's got to be pure helium. Publix didn't cut that ass. That's what I said,
dude. If you go and get helium balloons at a Party City or whatever, they last for 1 day. They stay up. Maybe 1.5 days, but eventually, then it falls. Like they cut it.
There's two things at play here. One is
now.
That Publix is cutting the helium that goes into the regular latex balloons. The other thing at play here is that I believe latex balloons will leach pure helium faster than a Mylar will.
Yeah. Mylar.
So you got two things working against it.
So that's not the myth, though. The myth is then she brought the balloon down. She was going to throw it away. And then I was like, "Oh, do the helium voice thing."
Yeah,
and then we started laughing. So Crystal does it first. The boys are laughing.
Oh, I love it.
And then I do it.
It is funny when Mommy does it more because Mommy a little more serious than Daddy, right? You're the fun guy. Yeah. You're the fun guy.
So I do it. The kids are laughing. Then the boys wanted to do it, right?
Yeah.
And then
It's very bad for children.
So she cut a little hole, and then she was kind of like squeezing it someone would squeeze like a
like if I were squeezing,
people fill up bags with AC Freon and junkies huff it, or what are huffers?
Wow.
Like
what are you doing to your children?
I'm not sure I can
You're
relate.
priming them to be huffers.
I'm not sure
that's
I can
how huffers do it.
relate to your example, but I'll go with it.
But anyway, so
I'm familiar.
she has this baggy Mylar balloon that we're huffing the helium out of, and then
Next thing you know, you're doing whippets together as a family.
so I go and to put it in Tommy's mouth to have him huff it, and then Chris is like, "Stop! No!" And then I'm like, "What?" And she's like, let me look this up." And then she looks it up on
that's
Google.
bad. You're not supposed to do it.
And then I'm sitting there, and she's like, "Nope, absolutely not. He cannot." And then the boys were disappointed. Like, it says here that although extremely unlikely, it
a
has
possibility.
someone died of asphyxiation, some kid, by huffing helium. Now,
One time?
listen.
Or is this,
isn't my
40, or is this the 40 pounds of marijuana I'd need to eat to die scenario?
Yeah, this is in the kitchen, and then believe me, I immediately started rolling through. I'm like, I bet it was. I remember a story in the 90s. Some kid tried to huff the helium that was inside a McDonald's, and he literally straight from the helium tank back. When helium was pure.
Oh man, the chat room is just spiraling out of control.
Yeah.
Families are being broken up right now. I'll just give you a few
All
things. I let my daughter sing an entire song, no big deal. Then I got shut up. Holy S, they could take your kids away for letting your kids use inhalants. Asphyxiation, super dangerous. You start repairing stuff all around the house.
Come on, this is what I'm talking about.
So it's very polarizing. The fact that first of all, the first thing I would like to do is I would like to applaud your bravery. Rather, I'm sorry, you're a little choked up. I would like to applaud your bravery for sharing something so personal with the show.
Yeah,
Secondly, I side with you. I do not think it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And thirdly, I do not think that they will take your children away for huffing a birthday balloon.
No.
I would
They'll do it for other
I would
things.
hope they would for other things, yes.
Russian, like, I mean, he ate some weed off the floor.
His voice, look at how horribly high his voice is, you monster.
So, anyway, so then we got...
oh, my God. Ghost Legs 420 in our chat room.
Ghost Legs?
Yeah, Ghost Legs 420 in our chat room. His uncle works in a helium mine. Can we talk to your uncle?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
That's
a
the
weird job.
rarest thing ever. Helium is so rare. Is that...
Please.
If that's
How do
true, I would love to talk to your uncle.
I don't even understand how they mine gas. You'd have to...
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you crack the rock, it floats right up into the cloud.
Yeah, it's going
Go
out!
and get it. Put the bag on it.
Anyway, so, like, how do they do it? So, anyway, I believe me, it took me... I've learned to pick my battles, and I'm believe in picking your battles, right? Like, most of the time, and
Okay.
who wants to battle all the time? Because that's what I realized that my life would be.
You're not a fighting champion.
If I just decided
You're just a champion.
to battle everybody with logic or anything that and half of it is misinformation on my own part, but I just shut up. And then I look at it, I do the math, and I'm like, I could say, I bet you they're fine.
You're just not willing to die on Helium Hill.
Yeah, we could start reading some science on it and then figure out that it's probably a little bit.
Have a spirited debate.
You shouldn't stick your kid's mouth up to a helium tank and turn it on full blast and tell them to breathe in as long as fill their entire.
Yeah, fill your lungs, hold it, no breath on top of that.
If you poofed a little old Mylar balloon into their lungs and they had a squeaky voice, that's fine. And any doctor would say that's fine. But technically, and that's what I believe. I have no idea. I have no science or testing to back this up or information, but I'm betting. Probably.
You're betting on your children's lives.
Okay, I am 44 years old.
99% chance that's true.
I am 44 years old. I'm trying to answer this honestly. I have huffed probably, let's say, 20 balloons. 20 times in my life, I've had the opportunity to huff a little helium and make the squeaky, high-pitched helium funny voice, right? I have never had one person, my parents included and other parents, ever tell me that doing that was ever dangerous.
Oh, yeah. Well,
where did I get the idea?
The internet. The parents in the 80s didn't know, and they just did the math, and they're like, that's fine. Because after every birthday party me and my friends
Yeah, right.
would go around and suck every helium balloon.
I didn't get helium balloons because
Me
we
either.
were poor.
I didn't get balloons.
And poor kids don't get helium balloons.
No.
and we were fine, and every kid was fine. But we did hear the urban legend in the 90s that some teenager in McDonald's,
Always McDonald's.
they huffed a helium tank and they died. And then I remember after that urban legend, I think my mom, while smoking a long Parliament Light 100, did scream at me a couple times like, be careful doing that. You know what I'm saying? But that was it. And I didn't be careful. You know, I just did whatever I wanted to do, and I was fine.
Okay, there were a lot of things. Okay, there was another product that you could buy as a kid. You're not gonna. This is out of your age. I've accepted it now. I'm old. It's fine. You would get it was a little red straw, and it would come with a tiny tube.
Yep.
Of some sort of adhesive, and it was to make balloons. And you'd put a dab of this goo on the end of the straw,
like
and you would blow.
J.B. Weld.
Yeah, it would look like J.B. Weld. It did.
Yeah.
And you'd blow into the tube, and this stuff smelled like straight drugs. It smelled like drugs. Like when you smelled it, you're like, God damn, that's great. It's you know what? Okay, then maybe you guys are in this. You don't know what I'm talking about?
It's
not
straight
sure.
toxic poison.
Yeah, like straight fumes, like hot gas fumes, like right up your nose. Lovely.
What was it for?
Okay, you're gonna blow into the straw, and you're gonna make a big balloon out of this glue fumes.
Yeah, it was like a glue
I do.
balloon.
Yeah.
And then you take the straw and you pinch it, and then you just
Play with it.
You just pop it up in the air, and somehow it'd be super light, and you're
And
like,
also very durable, but it was because it was made out of fume
It's
glue.
called magic bubble plastic.
Yeah, well, that stuff. Now,
That's not good.
Now that
That's
stuff,
killed a million turtles.
Yeah, I used to huff that stuff like a madman. And again, no one ever told me you shouldn't have. I don't even think they're allowed to sell that stuff anymore.
Yeah. It's
You'd get it at like a magic shop or something. It was garbage.
Yeah,
But
plastic balloons.
give me that.
the
Tom
internet.
said that stuff killed a million turtles.
the internet has made everybody scared because they look up one instance of some kid who had some problem with he sucked helium balloon and some crazy scenario had some sort of heart problem. You know what I'm saying? Like so many different factors factored into what happened to this one kid in the history of time, and then now every paranoid mom like my wife tells my sons not to huff the balloon.
Yeah, I can get you a pack of 8 balloonies, plastic balloons on Amazon right now.
Oh, buy that.
Hey,
Put it in your kids' Easter baskets.
I will. I mean, I'll show Maisie how to do it. I'll also show her how to respect the huff.
it's not made with the same chemicals that it was made in the 80s.
Probably
no way.
not.
It
not.
looks exactly like the same.
You know what that means? That means it isn't going to work as well.
Yeah.
It's just like hydroxy cuts. I went down that path. You guys changed the formula.
yeah.
My abs went away. That's the only problem I've ever had. That was the day.
Yeah.
When you changed the formula in hydroxy
You took
cut,
the good stuff.
single-handedly changed my body into a potato man. And it's your fault, hydroxy cuts, and I'll never forgive you.
Samantha, look up if anybody's died from sucking helium
I
out
did,
of a balloon. Yeah.
and it is a possibility.
No, that's not what he said.
It's a possibility, but it's very unlikely. It does say, let's see, dangerous. Inhaling helium displaces oxygen from your lungs, which can cause dizziness, falls, and even suffocation. Suffocation's more likely if you climb inside of a giant helium balloon than if you suck air from a helium balloon.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because you've surrounded yourself with zero oxygen, you dumb dumb.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
so you're like nothing. It's
Hold
fine.
on, I'm
It's
not
fine.
done with my
Oh,
paragraph.
sorry.
But even a few breaths from a balloon can be dangerous. Helium can also damage lung tissue in children and cause sudden sniffing death syndrome, which is a form of cardiac arrest.
Wait, no, sudden sniffing.
Sudden sniffing death syndrome.
So now when my daughter goes, I'm like, ah! There she goes.
sudden sniffing death syndrome.
It's a thing.
No, don't.
Like other inhalants.
Well, everything's a thing.
Injury
Everything.
or death can occur the first time or any time a person inhales helium.
Don't even
Juan's
walk
getting
out of your-
mad at you now. Juan says it is a thing. He's
Don't
yelling
even-
at you.
okay, then don't
You need
even-
to make the name more severe
Get
than
out.
sniffing
Okay.
death syndrome.
Don't even walk out of your house. Like don't even wake up in
Well,
the
don't
morning.
walk out of your-
Everything's
I just answered
dangerous.
your question.
Don't eat. You could
You
choke.
can only
Don't
walk out of your house if it's the shabbos, if you know the line is in play.
Don't touch electricity. Don't touch anything.
Don't touch
just
electricity.
Sit there. Do not do anything because anything can happen. It's like
That's a true fact. Anything could happen.
Yeah, it's apparently
what-
it's like you hyperventilate, but it sounds like the sniffles, which is why it got its name.
It can cause lung rupturing or air embolisms.
Like, listen, a cell phone has exploded and blown someone's neck out because the battery don't have a cell phone.
I'm getting rid of mine,
Don't
then.
wear glasses. I'm sure someone's fallen in glasses and their eye died.
Have you had enough, Granddad? Are you mad now?
Don't do it. Don't look at your TV. That'll kill you. Anything can happen. I'm just saying, like, that's what makes me so mad about it. Like, she looks at him like, nope. And I'm like, it's fine.
I could be wrong on this, but I want to say there was a case of this sniffling thing that some kid got from beach water in his nose. I remember this story, and because his parents said he thought he had a cold and he was sniffing, but he was really hyperventilating. I think that was recently, like I want to say in like the last 2 years, like right before the pandemic.
Got beach
Really?
water in his nose?
Yeah, it was like something really. It was just like a random, like there is the dice roll of
course,
your
yeah.
heart just stopped and that. How did it happen? No one knows.
Yeah, well, yeah. Then why you're afraid? Like my heart might stop too. Well, like, anything can happen. But what are you gonna
right.
do? You're gonna not live your life? Don't go in the ocean. You could get the ocean nose. Well, it happened one time. Seriously, it's like, to what extent are people? The risk calculators all off, right? Like,
I can't stop thinking about this glue balloons I'm going to be making later. Do you have emails that we can jump to?
I do.
I'm afraid to make Tom any more madder. He's going to
I'm not mad.
slap my face.
All right, this says, so I was thinking about what Tom said the other day, looking for new ideas for Tom and Dan. I've been listening to a lot of these super old OG shows and was thinking about how much everyone loves them. Not saying the new Friday Free shows aren't good, they are, but there is a certain charm to the old shows just being stripped down with a random cast of characters popping in or calling. It got me thinking, what if, once a month, T&D did a special OG Gold show with just the two of them, maybe at Tom's house or Daniel's house, or just a random place, and it had special guests from the old days call in or stop by, and it would be featured behind a paywall, maybe for like $1 extra a month. I think a lot of BDMs would pay...
BDMM.
And it could be donate $1 or more or whatever they wanted to pay. You could get D-Rug on and maybe Fat John if you can find them, and obviously Ross calling in and Kramer, or
Fat
just
John
whoever
will
you
never
can
come on the
find
show.
from the OG times. Just an idea. Love you guys.
Here's the problem with that. It's just like everything. When a show starts, it has a certain style, but that style is not.
It's been 12 years.
Well,
I mean,
no,
things
no.
evolve.
Yeah, and that style
Things change.
We didn't do that style on purpose. There was no forethought. It was what it was.
It was the natural style.
Because it's all we had, right? And just like everything, things evolve. And then so when you get to somewhere 12 years later or whatever, trying to now go back and emulate
Well, everyone's a different person now.
Yes, and trying to even emulate the original style won't be what you
No.
want, because now we're just trying to emulate what it was in reality now, which we can't really do because it's not going to have the same feel, because that was a different time.
I'll do it.
Where we just say, yes, I
You're
will
in?
do.
You're in?
Well, hold on, $1 extra a month, I'm in.
I'm like,
We will do it.
It's all I thought about was I could use that $1 to buy my huffing glue, my balloon glue, or whatever I'm buying.
If you,
I also dropped my Apple Pencil and the tip shattered, so I can't write.
Oh.
First world problems.
listen. If
Only had a pencil or a
if-
real pen.
if you are a true love BDM, expect some new stuff coming towards
Yeah.
you. Some Tom and Dan old school,
Yeah.
where it's just us in the room and we're sitting talking about whatever. And
We do that now.
We're doing it right now.
I know, somehow different.
You guys still have the same 12 subjects.
Yeah,
You just added kids in there.
We'll
We
call
are
it-
the Taco Bell of shows.
That's true.
Same 12 subjects. What do you want? Refried beans and cheese. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Something
got
like-
rid of potatoes, but you're going to bring them back
What do
next
you want?
year.
Yeah,
And then the things you really like straight talks, I take those away forever.
Yeah. And
Never bring them back. Mexican pizza. I'm looking at you.
we'll put the doo-doo jokes around the ding-dong jokes.
That's called a chalupa.
It's like the world's worst Scotch egg. Shout out to Ross. Go,
But
go see him do his kamates.
But I see what he's saying, and we do need to. But you know what?
I think we're.
It's hard for me to do
naturally,
that.
I think we're doing it. We've been pulling back on our structure. Have we not? We have.
Yeah, I think so.
We've been pulling back on the structure of the show to make it more like what this is, which is just kind of like a free-for-all. But it's
Yeah.
hard. Very hard for me.
Yeah. Also, it's like the mentality is, all right, do a good job, especially like at a BDM show, and then that takes away what it was to begin with. It's a mind F for me and Daniel sometimes because we want to do a good show, and then as soon as we get into the mindset of, hey, we got to do a good job, it ruins the damn spontaneity or just us shooting the S. Because we put the pressure on ourselves, and then it started with no pressure. It's something we're figuring out.
Yeah, we are.
We're trying to always get better. That's the truth of it.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? It's Zach from Ohio.
Hey, what's up, Zach from Ohio? I figured I'd just
We're doing a corporate time, so whatever you're going to say, make it clean, please.
Yeah, make it clean.
I would never say anything inappropriate.
No.
What's on your mind? What's on your mind, Lightning Bolt?
I just want you remembered. I just want to say that, Dan, you're looking like a snack today. You look very good.
Thank you. I saw your comment. He said I looked attractive.
No,
All right.
Yeah, that's why I made the
and
lightning bolt
I know why he
comment.
says that.
Zach has a lightning bolt tattoo on his weenie.
Yeah, and Zach likes the watch, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's a spoon scenario.
That's all right. As I get older, I'm more liberal, and I'm taking them all, man. I might change my pronouns. You never know. I get
It's going to
crazy.
be a waterfall soon.
Also, Samantha, your hair, I love it. It looks
Thank
really
you.
good.
Yeah. Well,
All the compliments today.
Tell
Thanks.
Tom
Zach.
something good about himself,
Oh,
or
yeah,
he'll
he's
be
gonna feel
sad all
bad.
day because this guy's jealous
No, I was,
crazy.
I was about to say, just because I compliment two of you doesn't mean I need to compliment all three of you. So.
Yeah. Just because he
Yeah,
gives
that's-
me a compliment doesn't steal your shine, Tom.
Don't compliment me. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't know how to compliment other people. Like I just, my boys will compliment my wife, and I
What
see
do they say?
Nice teeth.
they'll honestly, Max will be like, "Mommy, you look beautiful today."
And
then-
Macy does it too.
And
It's
then it'll
great.
melt my wife.
It's great.
And that's all you have to say to
I
her.
know, I know.
Man, you are the worst.
I
Even
know.
your kids get it.
I
the
see it
easiest thing. I'm not. This is your thing, but like Andrea will be standing there. May will lean into me just loud enough for her to hear it and go, "We have the prettiest mommy," like something like that. I mean, it just you can't even
Yeah.
you can't write something. There's
My
nothing
God.
you could do
Yeah.
that would even register on that meter. You know what I mean? Like you're not in that world, man.
No, and I see it. I'm like, oh man, that's pretty good.
He's going to be a ladies' man.
Where did he
man.
get it though? Where did he get it? Or is that
I don't know.
Or is that just the Crystal
Nature,
side?
baby.
Is that
Yeah,
the
I
Crystal
don't know.
side of Max complimenting Crystal?
Does she compliment you a lot,
Yes.
Crystal?
She does online. You see, I
That's
talked to
true.
Andrew about this. She'll take
It's
a picture.
been a while, I feel like.
She'll take a picture and be like, hubba, hubba. She's good
Yeah.
about it.
She'll do it online, but she knows if she tells me that it'll inflate my ego immediately from 0 to 100.
Wow.
And then I'll be like, I am strong. My arms do look good.
So
Like-
do you
and
No,
then
you don't.
Oh, I tell her,
do
yeah.
you think that she does it so people will think that she's less of a crow? Is this
Yeah,
purely a defense of your attacking on the show constantly,
Yeah,
sir?
she's doing anti-crow marketing.
That's what I feel
Yeah.
like. I feel like she's
Ah.
having to do a lot of legwork to kind of clean up.
Yeah, her image.
Every day on this show, you're trying to categorize her and, dare I say, character assassination on this program. And then look at all the extra work that she has to do to actually get people to believe she's not a crow. You got to be ashamed of yourself.
Well, everybody's got a little crow. Like, no one's non-crow.
I mean, if I painted myself black with my nose, I would look like a little crow.
do not do that.
From the jungle.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that.
We have to write, I am becoming a crow.
Yeah, I have to write crow costume.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we need feathers.
People be
Yeah,
like,
we
there's
need
not a lot of
feathers.
feathers. I'd be like, I'm working on that. I'm driving to Joanne. I got ahead of myself.
God, you know who we need to talk to? Samantha's husband. Now, even though when the one time we had him in here, and I what was the bit? I was like,
and he was like, can your teas be too
Well, he
good?
did a ticket challenge.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
the ticket challenge. But I
That's
bet
when
you
he got corona, too.
there's there's got to be some sort of crowing going on. And
that
our
guy?
household. No, I'm saying like Samantha.
I'm crowing him.
Oh,
Crowing
yeah,
him,
but
yeah.
we'll never get here.
Well, we'll never hear about
No!
it. But there's something.
Oh, but
there's something.
If that grift truck could talk, the headliner would be 1,000 cars driving home.
Yeah. Well, she's probably complaining about us.
us, yeah.
No, but I'm
Yeah.
talking about crowing at him.
Well, a little at the end. What's for dinner tonight?
No,
Oh,
yeah.
you didn't pick out our ingredients.
Yeah. Something. There's got to be a little something there.
We just order our groceries to be delivered at our house, and then we cook together.
Yeah. But there's
We have a loving
there's
relationship.
Yeah, they never fight.
There's something there.
Yeah.
There's some
What about
crow.
this one, though? What about
Oh, he
Butler?
gets crowed.
For
You
sure.
think he gets crowed?
Yeah.
He's
I
too
don't know.
stony
Okay,
baloney.
but
He
I
for
don't
sure
how-
gets crowed.
I don't know how he gets away with half the stuff he gets away with, though.
I
'cause
think
he
I
buys-
think she thinks he's special needs.
I mean, he
Yeah.
buys like
My wife has-
grandiose he bought a stand that is impressive, and it's a stand for a helmet. Like, you understand what I'm saying? There's like there's a Star Wars helmet that's impressive, but the stand he bought for his helmet is equally as impressive.
Yeah, but this job is like his allowance, and it's like your mom. It's like, your mom's like, you earned it. You can spend whatever you want on
So
it.
it's like- Spend
when
it all
I went
in
to,
place.
I went to
Yeah.
Wakava Youth Camp. My mom put $20 in the canteen. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
my 20 to use on
you
lemon
buy-
heads
Yeah, you
and
buy a whole lemon
moon
head.
pies and penny whistles.
Airheads, and it's all garbage. And it's like, well, it's your money. You will waste it if you want
It's
to.
really not my money. It's the money that she allowed me to have.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Corporate Time. Welcome back to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan, and Samantha has an email locked and loaded, buddy. Hope you're ready.
All right.
This says, remember when? So a few years ago, my wife emailed you about giving me a birthday shout out on the show and to surprise me with the news that she got us tickets for the Tom and Dan cruise. You not only did it, but you did a full joke segment with a fake voice and everything on the show. You guys are awesome and should probably do another show of just shout outs. Maybe like a 4-hour-a-week show just reading everyone's emails just
like
so
that.
people can hear their birthday wishes on
I
a
like
podcast
that.
that will
Yeah.
surely lead to people crafting creative ways for you to send out racism
Shout
and hate
outs
speech.
only. Only
Keep on
shouts.
keeping on.
Who wants to hear that?
Only shouts.
Yeah.
The people that are sending in the shout outs.
Let's
Let's try
well,
it.
That's a fraction
Let's
of the
try
total.
it.
No, that's a horrible
Well,
idea.
let me ask you this. If I went on to tomandan.com right now and made a page and said, for the shout out show, the Tom and Dan shout out show, it'll be a 1-hour show. Submit your ideas and payment.
Oh, to make money. Okay,
yeah,
now.
and then, yeah.
All right, but it's not a regular scheduled program.
No, it's the shout out show.
Okay, just the
God.
shout out show.
I thought I made that clear.
Yeah. I guess now I gotta rethink this because
It'd be like Cameo.
nowadays in the world of infinite entertainment and infinite stuff you could
Yeah.
just produce and put out there. It
Like
doesn't matter.
ACT is BDM, is OG, is Friday Free Show. It's all the same. It's the brand.
But
get on board, baby. We're leaving.
It's the shout out show, and it's just a bunch of. We'll have 100
Yeah.
people. It's
and then sometimes we goof on their shout out. Sometimes we pick on their uncle Fred because he's fat. We give a shout out to the birthday boy.
how much money for a shout out?
I guess we
$20?
I'd say $20. Yeah, because
So-
it's not like it's easy to do. Right, we have the studio, but it's still time,
Yeah.
and it's still gonna be something. I'm okay with it.
And then we do it's $20 for a shout out.
I say we just
And then
straight
we do
sell out hard.
That's what I wanted to sell it is.
Yeah. I mean, this is a job. It just also happens to be sort of our lives.
And then we're like, if you don't want to listen to the shout out
Don't
show,
listen
don't
to
listen.
it.
It's
I
there.
don't give a damn.
Yeah,
In fact,
yeah.
if you're not one of the shout outs, why would you listen to that? It'd
Right.
be
Right,
horrible.
but if you paid for one, you're obviously
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
listen
yeah,
to it.
but
You
you-
may not listen to the next one, but then if you run out of content and you need something, it's always there.
Yeah. And then eventually your name will come through. If you paid, you'll get an email that says you'll be in this shout out show.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
How would people think of us? Would they be like, this is cheesy and
Okay,
money
so what
grabbing?
would the perception be if we rolled this out?
Yeah.
Well, what is the perception of most celebrities that are on Cameo? Because this is under Cameo.
Yeah. Then the perception. I don't know what the general public's perception is, but I got to be honest. My perception sometimes is it seems beneath you a
Are you
little
saying
bit.
like desperate for money? So you're
Yes,
yeah.
a little bit. Now there shouldn't be because obviously, and during
Especially during COVID, yeah.
Well, I like your hair
It's like,
today.
well, here's a supplemental income because you're not able to tour or whatever.
well, that makes
Yeah.
sense. I'm saying even before COVID, the people that would do it, it seems like why are they doing it? And I understand it's like, all right, $50 for 30 seconds of your time. You do, 20 of those. You make $1,000 in an hour or
Yeah.
less. It's like, who wouldn't want that? But still, when you're a multimillionaire, it seems like, well, I don't know. You got something better else to do with your time? You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I'm just like, when the big celebrities do it, when like Chumlee and the reality people do it, like I totally understand
It's
that.
on brand for them.
Yeah. But if
If Tom Brady was doing it, how would you feel?
I would wonder why. And be like, why are you wasting your time? And for sure, he'd never do it.
It's kind of the way I thought about Lance Bass when I saw him on Cameo, because, like, not the most famous guy anymore, but also he achieved a level of fame.
But he did it for charity.
I was going to say a lot of them are doing it for charity
and
as
that's
well.
and that's
that's
what
fine.
I had to dig into. I was like, oh, he is doing it for charity.
And so when you do it for charity and you're big, I'm like, oh, great. Like, you donated your time to raise money in an easy
Jason
way.
Alexander from Seinfeld did it.
Yeah.
People like really huge stars.
We'll do it for charity and stuff. And that's, I totally understand.
Chuck Norris.
And
he's on Cameo for $450. How does that make you feel?
Is he doing it for charity? Or,
No.
Well, he's not working anymore, though.
Yeah.
Like, so
what was he, the Bowflex? No, what was his?
Total Gem.
Was that it? He's got to be getting residuals on that.
I would
And
imagine-
Walker, Texas
Look up
Ranger.
Chuck Norris's net worth.
I think he's fine. He did all those Delta Force
That's
movies.
what I'm saying.
He
He
was a
doesn't need-
legit martial arts badass.
Hold on. I just came up with, is the Cameo for the older celebrity the
Dude.
Walmart greeter of regular old people? Like,
Wow.
like you need something to do, so you just do Cameo.
How much do you think Chuck Norris is worth?
100 mil? I'm going way
60
high.
million.
70 mil.
I
He
went
does
high.
not need to do Cameo.
No, he absolutely doesn't.
Look
He
at those
did,
chompers.
man, he did really, really, really well. And he's in you know what is weird is that it's weird that he didn't end up running for some sort of conservative office, because isn't he's a bit of a conservative deal. And
He might. I mean, he still has
he
time.
looks like he'd be like one of those. A lot of those guys,
He's-
they
ooh,
like
he's
to
81.
They like to jump in a a little old.
Yeah, he may
Too
not.
old.
He also, like,
You don't want to
if
do
you're
that. Go
old-
lay on a beach.
Our president's like 78. It's fine.
yeah, but if you're Chuck, you're just like that
too
doesn't.
old.
Why? What interests this interests me at this point? You live your best life, Chuck. So, but anyway, it's the same thing I feel a little cheesy about with the all the Mycons and
Right.
Oh,
the what?
no, it's just you're calling EJ's.
No, I
con
didn't.
cheesy is.
No. I'm talking.
I fan.
I meant
You're
what's
like
the big
MegaCon,
MegaCon?
yeah.
I didn't mean MyCon. MegaCon.
It just came out. They're back to face MegaCon.
Yeah.
That
I think they're doing both. Yeah.
I think that was breaking news.
in the aspect of when a celebrity goes and they
You gotta
charge
pay for the autograph.
for
the
autograph
picture,
or
yeah.
picture. It God, I feel like it's just even though it's like, yes, of course, that's how they're making their money. They deserve the right to make money, and you can do whatever you want. You can make
Comic-Con sets return with
Comic-Con.
in-person convention over Thanksgiving, and pushback is brewing. Who's going to give up their first post-vaccine deal to go there, I guess, is what they're all saying. So.
Yeah, well, by that time, hopefully everybody has it, and it'll be, fine. But there's something cheesy about that to me, and I don't know why. I just feel like if you're standing there and someone's like, "Hey, can I get your autograph or picture?" and be like, $20, please, and then they pay you through whatever your card reader or cash, and then you're like, "All right," then you act all happy. But it's like, I don't know. I couldn't do that. I don't know, like. I just, for me, I couldn't charge for an autograph or a picture, even though there's nothing wrong with it.
It even feels weird when I have to do it for Santa Claus. You know, and like when you stand in line, you get there, holiday spirit, and you get to the end, then you got to pay up. It's
No,
very
you gotta
odd.
go to Bass
Yeah, it's
Pro
weird.
Shop where it's free. Come on.
Well, free Santas look like free Santas most of the time.
That I feel better about that because that's a hired actor.
Oh, and it's also a service they're providing.
And there's a photographer, and they built the set, and like, hey, this thing costs money, unless the mall's sponsoring it just to bring you out there or something. So back to if we did the shout out show, there's something a little cheesy about it, and I don't. But for sure, people would like it, and then everybody could say, "Well, they're paying, and they like it, so who cares?"
Right.
But then I'm just like, "Yeah, but it's like, it's so hey, pay me, and I'll say your name." Type of deal that it's off-putting to me. I don't know.
Okay, I know,
but
we'll figure it out. I mean, maybe
it's just
we
not
can do
for
it.
you.
Yeah,
some
maybe
people enjoy it, some
But
people don't.
Would you be jealous though if I started doing it and I just started piles of cash just everywhere?
Ooh.
No, I just changed my tune. And then
okay.
just do
Okay.
yeah, because I don't whatever I think now, I don't care about thinking
I
something
like
different
that.
later.
I like that.
I can always change my mind.
This guy's fluid, man. He goes in all directions. Doesn't matter. I like it.
Yeah, because it doesn't. Because I'm just hung up on some
Money
sort of,
talks, baby.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm just talking. Yes, I am. I'm not. I'm dying on this hill. I don't give a damn.
I got you.
I don't know that there's a hill you'll die on.
No, I don't want to die. In any
I don't
hill.
want to die.
I die in the bunker.
Please don't kill me.
Yeah.
What else you got?
We asked for 2 drunk stories when people got too drunk for our Friday free show. This lady, she wrote in a little late.
Okay.
It says, I heard the stories this morning and I was bummed I missed submitting my story. My husband and I went back to our hometown recently and went out for drinks with friends. He did tons of shots and was wasted drunk. He puked all over the passenger door on the drive home. We got to my mother's house, and while he was sitting on the toilet, I jumped in the shower. When I got out, he was sitting on the floor and there was a puddle of water under him. I told him he peed himself, but he said no. So I told him to get up so we could check. When I bent him over to help him up, there was a turd in his shorts.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I had to wipe him clean, and then I made him get up and jump in the shower to finish cleaning himself. Then I got to clean the bathroom before finally crawling into bed. It was a horrible night, but we had a great laugh the next couple of days, and now he knows for sure that I love him. Oh, and my kids were there for the whole fiasco, and they were mortified.
Oh my God.
No.
Thankfully, they're old
This
enough.
is the worst email we've ever received. Why did you read this?
Hasselhoff.
Oh my God.
Thankfully, they are old enough that
terrible.
I don't think that this will scar them emotionally.
The whole chat room's melting down. Then people think this lady. First of all, this lady needs to call us.
Oh.
This was a phone call. This should never have been an email. I can't believe you read that. It's insane. They're saying this lady
Well,
is
she
a
missed
saint.
the call.
Oh my
I'd
God.
be terrified. Your kids are fine. They'll laugh it off one day when they get old enough. They'll be like, "Oh, you got too loaded."
That's the only email you've ever read. How many years have we done? 12? That has ever made me uncomfortable.
I'd be terrified for my sons to see things. I'd be like,
Shut the bathroom
Oh.
door,
Yeah,
right?
you
Don't let
have
your
to
kids see that.
Tom, it still bothers me that Maisie saw me slide backwards on skis into a hole and
That's
laughed
hilarious.
at me.
Yeah.
It still bothers me. I can only imagine if she saw Daddy in a very bad,
Ooh. Falling off the toilet.
not
Yeah,
having
yeah,
a good
yeah.
relationship with alcohol,
Yeah,
falling off the toilet, peeing my pants, pooping my pants.
Yeah. Like
No, sir.
Yeah. I'm going.
I don't know
I'm
about
going off into the woods to die.
Hey, that's what Juan said in the chat. He said, I would disappear into the woods if Sarah had to clean me up.
Yeah. Like I'm not letting my family see me that.
Yeah.
Like that way. Like just like right about like if they told me it was coming, I'm like I'll fight it until I know I can't, and then I'm disappearing, and then see me. But you say that, and then I'm like, I'll be look all pale, and then Daddy, he's living way too long. Dying slowly.
Have you ever
like that's a reality?
Have you ever had a position where your boys saw you do something and you know they saw you, and maybe they saw you at a time that you would
Vulnerable?
classify as
No,
your
no.
worst or vulnerability?
I
or-
don't show my vulnerable side to anybody. Not even my wife. Nobody.
Yeah.
Like if I
You really don't. He really doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, like
I don't like anybody's. I try.
So it would make
to not
you-
have any vulnerability.
So it would make you very uncomfortable had you been sitting in the bedroom in Colorado with me as I was talking to Maisie about my stomach and how I was laying in bed and how much pain I was in. And then apologizing about how embarrassing it is to deal with something like that. That would have not been good for you.
No,
Okay.
no. I don't tell my sons anything.
Fair dad, yeah.
If they say they tell me what they're scared of. I tell them I'm not scared of anything. And then they tell me this hurts. I'm like nothing hurts me. I tell them like I'm trying to portray this superhero, so they'll be horribly disappointed one day.
It is easier though than oh man. Okay, well that woman, you are a saint. You win. If you'd have called, you may have won the prize because that story. If we'd have talked to your hubby, that's bad. That's really really bad.
Yeah, how do you let it get that way? Like I understand, I've been.
It's the whole thing, right? Of going back to your hometown and partying with your old friends. You don't
I
want to
know.
go hang out with your Miami friends.
No, I do.
I know,
I go
yeah.
back to Deland and we hit up half times. Next thing you know, I'm 5 sheets in the wind. Yeah.
No, I know. And then
We've all done
you
it.
wet the bed. Like
It
I've
happens.
never. Yeah.
I've never wet the bed. I've never
You go in your wife's
I've never
underwear
gone
drawer.
number 2 in my pants because of drinking.
That's an odd thing to me. I don't know why the number 2 thing
It
comes up
happens a
every once in a
lot.
while. Yeah, but why?
It happened
seems-
on a cruise. We had a guy
Yeah.
that did it in the hallway. It's happened multiple.
That one seems harder to happen, right?
Men-
Or
when
less
men
likely to
get-
happen.
Yeah, why?
When men get overly drunk, there are some times that number 2 is in play.
Do you just lose all control of everything?
I don't think I have that trait. I don't think you have that trait. I'm going to guess that if pushed to the brink, Butler has that trait.
Yeah, the Neanderthal.
Butler
Chopper.
looks like the type of guy that if he drinks to the point of blindness, he will poop his pants.
Well, I think that's true because before the foot golf, didn't he say he had, quote, septic poisoning when it was really just him doo-dooing all morning?
I mean, just to clear things up, septic poisoning.
Just hung over.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, just made it.
Sepsis is a thing. That's what got my mom, you know.
Yeah,
like, so, I mean, that it is a real thing, but I don't think he had that.
He claimed it. No, I'm saying. I think
I don't know about that.
he gets the doo-doos when he
Someone's-
drinks too much.
Someone spiked my margarita with 18 tequila shots. You're like, all right.
It's one of
Uh-huh.
Tom's favorites. Like when you're giving away Fat Boy Slim tickets at the radio station and you don't have them, and you proclaim that somebody must have put drugs in your drink. No, somebody put drinks in your mouth. That's what happened.
You did it.
Yeah, you did. You bought every one of those
And you're like,
drinks.
I don't remember doing that. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's how it works.
I think I told people that. Somebody put slipped something in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
The bartender made you a drink and you slipped it into your mouth.
Yeah. I don't remember drinking that much. Well, nobody does because that's poison.
One more, Sam. We got time for one more.
Good afternoon. As I sit here in Denver, Colorado, preparing to return home from my first work trip in over a year, thanks COVID, I had a high thought. When I download episodes on the app, as long as I open the app before my flight and keep the app running in the background, the shows will play. But if I accidentally close the app mid-flight, the app will not open up to access my downloaded episodes without connected service. Any resolution to fix this? You guys are my escape from reality. P.S. My wife says she hates your show, but now she sings Time for Bath to my 13-month-old daughter every time we give her a bath.
Okay, now that is... I get emails about this type of stuff, but that is certainly not something that we have ever thought about. So hats off to your high thought. That's good.
Well, why does that make sense? Because I thought if you downloaded the show, it's saved on your phone now. So
No, it is. He's blowing a hole in that. He's saying the problem with that is, because that is the case. He's saying that if you close the app, though, that the app is not engineered to access it
Correct.
without Wi-Fi.
without Wi-Fi.
And
The only way that would happen would be on an airplane.
Gotcha.
You're not typically going to do that because you're always going to have either cellular service or Wi-Fi service. It is something that we overlook. That's good.
Well, we'll just
We can fix that.
We'll email Mako Media.
Yeah, can you make a note on that, Sam? That's good. I love it when we get real
There are
stuff we can fix.
app designers. They've done a really good job, and that's something like we're always looking for lists of things. Like they tell us, like,
Well,
what
he did it
in the
right
next
though
update.
because he didn't just say, how do I say this? Sometimes when people something's wrong with the app, they'll just email me and be like, "Your app sucks."
Can't get it to play. Like,
And then I'm
not
like-
specific enough.
And that's fine. Look, our app's not the best. We're always trying to make it better. But if you can over-explain it to me, and then possibly walk me through what you did, I can fix it.
It's a hard business too, because I think like me, I don't understand what it takes to build an app, and I have, like, obviously I'm a pop-up when it comes to all that. So when I have other apps that work on my phone and then our app doesn't work, I'm like, why doesn't it work? Like, I'm holding them to the same standard of like a billion or $100 billion corporation, you know what I'm saying, as you are to smaller companies trying to have their own private app. So it's like, well, my iTunes or Apple Podcast app works perfect, and Tom and Ann, well, they have $100 billion or whatever more than that.
Well, they're the leader. Nobody in the podcast game ever will beat Apple to anything because Apple is and will be number one for a very long time.
Or your Android app. And then it comes to the problem where...
Tom, it took Google 5 years to catch up to Apple Podcasts. There hasn't been a native Android version of a podcast app up until like last year.
Yes, and it's hard for us because then our app has to communicate and work with all these varieties of Android phone, and every update and every new phone
Sabbath
comes
phone.
with a different thing, and then our app company Mako is great about fixing that, but then sometimes it'll break, you know, your Galaxy 4 because we've fixed it to work with the Galaxy 5, you know, so It's hard when it comes to that. Yes.
Crazy, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
But that's a good one. Good email.
Yeah.
Anything to plug before we get out of here?
We could plug our event, in which there's probably only a couple boxes left, but I want to thank justcallmo.com, and he's our presenting sponsor for the Tom and Dan Land Cruise.
Yeah, you might be injured on the go. Well, you can just call. There you go.
ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Sports Subaru, all our gift bag sponsors. I know we have Bart Merrick, At Home Floor Store. I know that we have Villain Clothing Company.
Tracy says go there now. 2 pods left.
2 pods left. Blanchard Insurance is a sponsor. Precision Door. I'm trying to.
Weston, Power Spot,
There it
Roy
is.
Cruises,
Thank you,
Adam
Sam.
Forster, ABC, American Air and Heat. Did you already say that?
Oh, American Air and Heat, yes.
Yep. Secured Roofing. Did you already say that?
Secure Roofing, yeah.
Streamline.
Yeah. There it is. Sorry.
Subaru.
I know we are the Kiss of podcasts, but it's our sponsors that help us do these
Yes,
things.
we wouldn't be able to do it without them.
It's
They know.
It's insanely
Whoa, there is
expensive.
1 pod left.
Who's gonna get the last pod?
I'll put something secret in it.
Last box left. Who's gonna? I'm gonna wait here until someone buys it. All right, bye. Welcome to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I have cancer apparently in my eyeballs.
No,
Why would you do that?
It's
Why
not-
would you? Why, when you know that
No,
I am
no.
working hard through exercise, meditation, trying to eat healthier, everything else is exactly the same though. Alcoholism is. But I'm just saying, I'm trying to better myself, and I have a floater in my eye now, and I can see it, and you know that I'm trying to manifest positivity by vocalizing it. So I'll say things like, not a big deal, moving on. That's my way to move on. And you'll be like, nope, don't move on, probably cancer. And then you lean in.
Well, it's like if someone's pants fall down and then they quickly try to pull them up before anybody notices. My first instinct is to scream, "Look, that nerd's pants fell down."
That's the chopper.
Okay. I thought you were going to say your first instinct is to pull the pants further down.
No, I'm not that much of a bully.
In which case, I was going to turn to our friend who happens to be in the legal, there's the mumbo jumbo, and I tell him to get you.
And also, when I make those jokes, I know that
I know
wait.
you know.
You know. Hold on, that's the shirt. I know, you
Yeah.
know. You know.
you don't actually. That doesn't
You
spike
just
your
have to know
anxiety.
knowledge. That's also
Yeah.
a Tom
Yeah.
Van quote.
Plus, he knows what I'm going to do, right? So how do you think I feel right now? Do you think that I am still using the positivity that I'm trying to manifest in order to push my hypochondriac tendencies away? Or do you feel like you know that right now I am spiraling out of control inside my own brain?
Well, I hope you're spiraling because that's what I wanted.
Correct.
But,
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Uh,
Introduce our guest so I can spiral
sorry.
quietly.
Sorry. With us today, one of our great sponsors, also our presenting sponsor for the Tom and Dan Land Cruise, which I want to talk to Mo about. But in the studio, Mo DeWitt. How you doing, Mo?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
Good. So
I'd be doing better if this guy wasn't a jerky friend.
here's how nice Mo is. Mo texts me. It was probably like, weeks ago, maybe a month ago, or whatever. After he.
Hey, Merry Christmas. Just want to get it in early. I'm that nice.
No. After he, already agreed to be the presenting sponsor of our next event, which, by the way, we couldn't do without our sponsors because there's a lot of costs associated with these.
And
type
our
of things.
guys know how this works. We've always been pretty upfront about. And this one, somebody asked the question on the page, the event page last night, how much money we're making from this event. And Tony was very quick to let them know that we're making next to nothing and losing money.
Yeah.
Wasting
Yeah.
money.
If I hit it just perfect, we'll lose it a little bit. That's all I.
That's so bad.
And if we do that,
Yeah.
but I look at it like the grand scheme
we
of things,
budgeted
it's
it.
better.
No, we budgeted it, but it's
But it's the
not
only-
a money-making event.
Yeah, it's the only way you could do it. Because I mean, when you see how beautiful the Dr. Phillips Front Yard Festival is, and how much, I mean, it's not just construction gates. You know what I'm saying? Like
no.
this
It's a thing.
This is like permanently constructed, like wood paneled
It's a deal.
fencing. It's not, it's not just the fencing at the county fair they threw
No.
up. You know what I'm saying? Every box has QR codes. Like it's the nicest
It's top
venue
tier,
in town.
super nice, yeah.
Anyway, so expensive. So so Mo texts me like a month after he agreed, and then to be the presenting sponsor.
I don't even know what you're going to say, so I hope you're sharing something that Mo's okay with.
And
you know,
then,
like,
but this, I'll just show you how nice of a guy Mo is. Mo's like, hey, no big deal, but I just need to know if I need to buy a pod or a box or not,
Yeah.
because I plan on going or whatever. As
okay,
if
now I've been through
the
the
presenting
list
sponsor.
of the free, I've been through the list of the free pods
Let's
of the pod.
not pretend you haven't overlooked stuff like that.
No,
before.
All right. Well, maybe
I
that's it.
don't
He's a
remember
smart lawyer.
Mo ever being on the list.
No,
No, I'm serious. We've been through the list. There are some names on there that are odd names. I'll throw some
Ben
out there.
Bungie has a
Yeah,
pod.
Ben
I didn't
Bungie
even know
has
that.
a pod. Remy has a pod. Drew Garabo and his producer have a pod.
That Mo's gonna get Tony Palmieri.
Ah!
No, but I like as if like we were like, oh no, we didn't give the
No,
presenting
he was on the
sponsor,
list.
and like the best pod in the house. But that's how nice Mo is. Instead of like if I was in Mo's position, I would
They're gonna have a pod for me. I'm the king.
I would have just assumed that I would have got the best
Yes.
pod and then showed up and then
Now,
they're
does
like,
that
you're not
have
on the
to do
list.
with Mo being very nice, or does it have to do with him just knowing how we are?
Correct.
I think it's
Again,
probably a
not
bit
trying
of
to-
both, more of us.
Yeah.
Fair.
Anyway, how you doing, Mo?
Doing well.
You already asked.
Sorry.
Start over again.
How you doing? Well, he
Take it
gave
from the top.
well,
Take it from the
he
top.
gave us so much money. I'll ask you all day. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
Also, Mo, I know that day of the event.
You know.
I was looking forward to you dressing like the Justin Timberlake video that I saw.
Yeah.
But I don't know if
He
you
wants
want
you in the full denim. It's gonna be hot name.
So why again would you? Okay.
I can't help myself.
I mean, it really is. It's got to be
He's
that.
obsessed.
I'm trying to ruin
Because
everything.
we didn't. He and I, we're not known for our show planning. You know, when
It's
we
true.
do the show, there's a reason that Tom, and he swears he wrote this, but improvisational conversations is what he calls what we do. But you never told me that your idea was to get our main sponsor in here, the presenting sponsor of our event, sit him down, fake like we didn't have a pod for him, give him a pod, and then go through this whole like rigmarole about how bad we are.
So at the end of the day, you wanted me to be in the full denim suit,
Right, and
locked
then-
outside the Dr. Phillips Center, peering over the gate,
Yes.
looking for the show.
So you want to bring our
And
presenting
then
sponsor?
Pico, I'm like, joke's on
He's
you.
got a denim cowboy hat on.
So Mo bought all the pods, or what? You know, he helped. You could say without him, no pods, right?
Right.
So you bring
No
him in
event
here,
whatsoever.
and then you tell him, okay, finally, 11th hour, we got you a pod, but now you want him to dress like a ding dong? At the event?
No, he has that.
I know
outfit.
he does, and it's for marketing purposes that he used in a commercial.
You know, this is how dumb I am.
It's a marketing, like, he doesn't do that because he thinks it's, like, fun. At least I don't think he does. I want to speak for him, but...
That wasn't even an idea I had. I had nowhere to go, and then I was like, well, don't say that, and then I said it.
Wow.
I literally was like, oh, I have
Nowhere to go? Just come on. Whoa.
Anyway, how you doing, Mo?
Oh my God.
Wait a minute, we have
What
to
do we
change
wanna
the
talk
name of
about?
the bit.
Yeah.
The name of the bit is now called How You Doing, Mo? Where we sit down.
Oh, also,
What are you watching on TV? You got any good things you're
I
streaming?
mean, I do have legal questions if you
Oh,
want to
oh,
get
yeah,
to, but
well,
I mean, if you want to just keep asking him how
Legal
he's doing,
question.
Well, one
that
more-
is also fine.
one more thing about the event.
yes.
So this is another thing that's always driven me crazy.
Oh,
where-
Zane Nelson in our chat room said he's storming the pods. Don't storm the
Don't
pods.
storm
No
the pods.
storming.
So another thing that always drove me crazy, especially with corporate events, because I've been a part of those before, and it's like when a corporation's throwing an event, usually the person that works for said corporation, the event planner, they're so used to saying no that's all they say, and they won't even go and ask or look into it because it's easier for them to say no.
Event you want to go, just say no.
Yeah, it's like can I get some extra tickets? Can I do this, that? It's always no. And Mo also said, he's like, hey, I can produce some custom Just Call Mo cups for all the beverages at said event. I don't, just let me know.
My name's Mo. I know.
He said if it's an event you want to go, and you're going to put on a good show, they got some cups that will make the beer flow.
And they glow.
The glow go with the flow to toe.
And he said, I can provide the cups. I'll custom print them and send them to the event.
God, you're a rambling ding dong.
I know.
You're just a rambling moron.
And then instead, I thought to myself, well, maybe Dr. Phillips wouldn't want to use their own cups, and maybe it's part of the, I could have just said no, but never say no to Mo.
Never say no to Mo.
Good rule.
Get that.
Update.
But then
I am now fully blind.
I guess right. I guess right. No.
It is. There's nothing going on in these things. Can you see behind them? Can you see anything? Are they open?
They're open.
Are my eyes
They're
open?
open, baby.
But they're white.
I'm pretty sure you have glaucoma in both.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, and then I just sent an email and asked Dr. Phillips, and they're like, yeah, sure, just mail it to
we don't care.
it's easy, just ask.
So wait a minute, did he just say never say no to Mo, and you emailed Mr. or Dr.
Mr.
Phillips?
Phillips.
So you emailed Jim Phillips to come to his
And then he said, yeah, nobody. He's like, I'm at home. I'm like, all right.
At this point,
I thought you owned the place.
I haven't talked to Jim in forever.
I didn't know you were a doctor.
Last time I talked to him, he said Corona had scared him under his bed. And Jim Phillips said he never goes out. He could be crazy old man.
He's whipping the Corona balls out of the air. All right.
Okay.
First question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
legal.
how we're doing this.
I don't know.
You take them up high with the rhyming, and then you take them down.
All right. We have, is there any way to double check that a lawyer is doing what they are doing? When they say that they filed a motion, is there a way I can view what they actually have? Non-criminal law, if that makes a difference. Also in Florida, but not Orlando.
Motion, ocean, potion.
There you go. Dan got it.
All right.
I just wanted to continue rhyming.
So it depends on the county, but most counties have an online docket. You can just log on and see what's been filed in the case. So I know they said not Orlando, but Orange has it, Seminole, Volusia, all the counties. You just go to the clerk of the court website, click search, and you can see what's been filed.
It's also fun if you have friends or neighbors that are your friends, but you don't want and they've been arrested for doing weird things. All that stuff's public record. So a lot of times Andrea and I will lay in bed and look up people in this town and read all the intimate details of their arrests.
Oh, yeah.
It's really fun.
That's fun.
Mo, did they kind of make the system a little bit user-friendly for the fact that we do have the legal right to represent ourselves
for
in court?
transparency?
No, I'm just saying so it is technically possible to represent yourself, even though highly, someone would say, do not do this.
I don't. Would you even do that?
Represent yourself now.
Yeah.
So even if you had all the knowledge, which you have, your mom, you got people that have the.
It's like doing your own surgery. It's like you shouldn't do it.
I think I would.
But as far as the system and filing stuff, do they make it a little bit easy so it's possible to do yourself, or is it still?
It's possible. It's people ask me that all the time. Can I do this myself? Yeah, sure. You can. You can go down there and get the forms and try to fill them out, and then usually they'll call back in a few weeks and be like, "Can you just do this for me? It's too difficult to figure out." So
yeah.
Interesting. You can certainly figure it out if you have the time to do it, but it's not the easiest thing in the world. It's not the most user friendly.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's antiquated and the systems are old and it takes a lot of experience to even do it. I imagine if I even tried, it would take me weeks just to figure out how to
turn the computer on.
Imagine if I was trying to represent myself in the court of law.
But you're the type of guy,
like the old man.
I think if I didn't know you, if you and I weren't in a business together, and if we were just friends and hung out, I could see you go through these bouts of confidence where, and because you are capable. And you would dedicate yourself to it kind of like you dedicate to your gambling. It's not going to go well.
Right.
But
They'll give it a whirl.
But you'd give it a shot, I feel like, right? No? Am I wrong? I might be wrong on
No,
that.
well, yes.
You strike me as a represent yourself kind of guy.
I know better though, and I know that that's how you go to jail, definitely, because for sure you're up there, and then as soon as
I've never seen it. Have you? How long have you been in?
10 years.
Okay, 10 years in that world. Have you ever heard of or ever seen anybody that represented themselves that actually was like respectful to the judge, did protocol correctly? Because normally it just feels like they get up there and they're like, I'll be representing myself. And then they just go crazy.
Because they're usually narcissists.
That's
Or they're
usually how it
insane.
goes.
Yeah.
I would like to see the guy go, unfortunately, I am representing myself. And then him do the boring stuff like, I filed that motion and it did this. And can permission to do whatever, like I want them to do it like you're supposed to do it.
I mean, I've seen a few people who are representing themselves where the judge banned them from filing anything further because they kept filing so much nonsense.
Right.
Which is usually
Tom
a bad
Van.
sign.
Because you are in it so much that you know.
that's gonna be my biography name, Tom Van filing nonsense.
And it's a picture of you filing your teeth.
Yeah. Because at a certain point the judge is like, that's it, I can't take it anymore, right?
Well, I mean, they have to put up with a lot of nonsense because they just have to sit there and listen to whatever walks in for the most part. And then you'll get calls from people who did it, and they're like, I lost everything in the divorce. Can you help me? I'm like, well, not really.
Not now. right.
Yeah. This is the reason you did this to yourself.
We have a question from the chat kind of with that. It says, do lawyers actually represent themselves?
Some do. I think the smart ones probably don't, unless it's like a little minor thing. But I mean, if you were facing any serious charges or a serious lawsuit, you want to hire someone who, number one, that's their area of expertise if it's not yours, and number two, who can kind of have that sort of buffer so you're not in your own head, because you want someone who's going to advise you properly. If you're representing yourself, a lot of times you don't really see that clearly. I don't really know how to describe that, but you just kind of can't get outside your own head to really articulate the points properly because it's too personal usually.
You're so close to it.
Yeah.
Is it kind of, I'm trying to make an analogy in careers, Mo, where it's like my wife has told me about the real estate
That's the most
industry.
boring PlayStation game. It was called Gran Turismo. Gran Careersmo. And it was just a career.
So, and she tells me like, from my experience, I am really good at selling houses between this price range, right? Like I know a lot about it. That's what I do. And that's where I land perfectly if you're trying to ask me questions and stuff, because it's what I know the best. Now you're talking about when you go into selling $10 million houses, I don't have she's like, there's a lot of different things to go into.
Set,
not even skill set, just there's a whole bunch of different things, different clientele, different,
there's a bunch of little different details, right? I would imagine
details,
the process is
percentages,
different.
all the stuff. And then so I think a lot of people just like, sell a house to sell a house, right? The lawyer is a lawyer, right?
Right.
But it really has to do with how much experience you have to.
You saying lawyer's a lawyer made me laugh just because I thought of the one you had, the guy with the baggy suit.
No.
Because that's not true. It's just not
Baggy doofus?
He was a baggy doofus.
Oh,
and
man.
but
I almost went to jail for that. And it wasn't even a crime. I didn't pay a credit card.
Didn't he make the judge mad?
Oh yeah, we're open.
What is
And
because
the reason
he didn't
I
know
like
what he was
this,
doing.
The reason I like this
She's
story,
like, you can't do that.
Number
I
one,
immediately got mad.
I get great
Scared.
enjoyment of this guy being tortured because he gets great enjoyment out of me being tortured. But just to be a fly on the wall, to sit there and watch, like as a client, watching your attorney, the guy, like Mo said, you wouldn't want to represent yourself because you'd want somebody who's like a little distant from it. They can make really good, logical decisions for you and your family and your life, man. And this guy's just sitting there pissing on the judge. And then what were you thinking?
I was thinking, I'm going to go to jail. and it taught me a valuable lesson. Like,
didn't he tell him to be quiet or something?
Do not hire a lawyer for predator tickets because that was
your lesson.
It was season tickets. But
Oh, whoa.
That was a whole $99. That was a $99, and you got two free beers and a hot dog.
I stole every week out of the stealing.
Every week?
He got out of the prize closet.
Yeah.
So it's different seats every week?
I tell the intern, I'm like, hold two for my lawyer.
The guy's like, these are season tickets, but all of my tickets are in different areas. Yeah, that's that new variety pack you get. They switch it around so you can get a different view every game.
I hope Mo's trying to figure out if that's true or not, just so he's like...
Well, I mean, he can always go pull he can dig in the archives and find it. It's totally true.
Because in the back of your mind, you're like, well, maybe he's just exaggerated. That couldn't be a...
Hey,
I think he knows.
Here's another detail I like. His desk was up on books. When you went to meet with him, like, his desk was lifted.
That's,
so the cleaning people could vacuum and get the Cheez-It crumbs out from that.
And every time I raise my voice in his office, the Billy Bass would start singing. I'm not joking.
If your lawyer has a Billy Bass
Can we keep the DBs down? I just put fresh double A's in there.
Oh my God, dude. Your life's
This
a
is
mess.
all true,
I
though.
know.
I cleaned myself up. Did
you?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
Yes, I did. I have stopped all those shenanigans. Or most of them. Anyway, you got another question?
We got another one from the chat. What do you do when you bought a property with an ex-fiance who's now married and lives in Spain? So they have a property here, but that person that was their fiance has now left them, moved to Spain, and married someone else.
Oh, man.
But I'm guessing the property's still in both of their names.
God, when I ever hear that a woman moves to Europe, I always think of old what's-her-name in Italy, the love triangle and the murder.
Oh, Amanda Knox.
Amanda Knox, yeah. But I always think Foxy Knoxy, and then immediately I think this listener's fiance that went away, like, he's hot as hell.
Foxy Knoxy.
And this guy's a big turd. You deserve everything you got, sir.
Yeah.
She's happy. Leave her alone. She's in Spain now.
So, yeah, I wonder what if you did own a property with someone else.
Because you can't sell it, right, if someone
without their
else's
permission?
name on it?
Yeah, you'd have to file a partition action where basically it forces them to off the property by sale, and then you basically buy it out from them as part of the lawsuit. So
Oof, that sucks.
you have to file a partition action, have them served if you know where they are. If you don't, then you'd have to serve them by publication most likely, then go through the whole process, and then eventually you'd basically have to kind of buy them out.
I love served by publication.
It makes absolutely no sense.
It's cool, though. You buy the thing and you put it into the world. We should start just serving everybody.
I know
I want to serve everybody.
Well, what's funny about
serve.
that?
Yeah, I want to just buy Orlando Sentinel. I'm serving everyone.
Literally, if someone is like, you have to put something out into the world, but if someone sees it, you'll be killed. I'll be like, put it in the Orlando Sentinel. Like, seriously, like that's because even if put it on my Facebook, I would be more nervous. Yeah, like that. And I know that. How is the court system dealing with a world where
That's a great question.
You used to have to post things in the newspaper. There's like legally like, hey, before you sell this property, or you have to put it out there in the world, and it was the newspaper,
it
right?
Changes things, right?
So, and now you put something in the newspaper, it's like that's definitely a way for nobody to see it. And have they changed that?
No, they just ignore technology.
Yes!
He loves it. Look how happy he is. I've never seen you fist bump before.
It's an old courthouse. Like, what's
I mean, you can pretty much guarantee nobody is going to read that or see it. But
I've never seen one. That's the thing
I
I know of them, but I can honestly tell you guys, as many newspapers as I've read, even as a producer where I had to read it, right? Mm-hmm. I've never seen. I know of what he's talking about. Never seen one.
Yeah.
Where would I go to even find that?
I mean, usually people wouldn't even post them in the Orlando Sentinel, at least historically, because that was more expensive. You'd do like Jewish Heritage paper, like Osceola Times.
Like a penny
community ones.
You'd shoot low.
Yeah.
You'd find something that was reasonably
cheaper. Yeah.
What about that Castleberry Chronicles? That's
Don't talk about that.
Oh
I have a big
my
deal with him
God.
right now. I'm trying to work a deal with him.
It's the whole thing is coconut rind. Dusty. Anyways, it is ridiculous that there's still these antiquated rules of like, hey, you got to post it in some publication, and if you put it in the Castleberry Chronicles, like, all right. Although
I have an update. I can see again.
Okay,
Yeah.
it comes and goes.
It's back. And boy, you guys feel a lot better.
Another question from the BDM group. Why do law firms have repetitious names? Smith & Smith, Diaz, and Diaz. Why not just have the Diaz law firm, like the DeWitt law firm?
Because I feel
it makes
like
no sense.
I feel like when you do that, you're letting people know that you have cared for people and their legal needs in the community for generation after generation. You're going to be here for them generations after that.
Oh, I like that. It's
That's
like
a good answer.
Father,
It's all
son,
BS, but I think it is. That's what they're trying to
husband,
do.
wife.
Yeah, there used to be something that you should have 3 names in a law firm. So then, like, if it was just family, they just pick 3 of the people who are lawyers and put their name in the title. But that's why even like larger law firms are, Smith Jones and Bartow or something. There's just something that you're supposed to have 3 names. I think people have gotten away from that, but that was kind of like the standard before.
Gotcha. And then also there's people like partner up with law firms, and then when they morph, they'll just use the both names or some of that too.
Yeah, and they used to, like, actually when one partner would die, they would change the name. And there's a few law firms in Orlando whose names keep changing all the time, which I think is just confusing, but that's what they do. So that's kind of a more old school thing.
Sometimes they used to split. I remember as a kid, there were law firms that you would hear commercials because all we had was radio. And then I remember as a kid, it was one of the first times that I was like, oh, what happened? I was like, oh, it's just that name now, not with the other name.
Yeah,
and then you'd hear another commercial for the other person, and I was like, ooh, spill the teas. They got mad at each other.
Hatfield and McCoy.
Yeah, I was like, something's going on here.
Yeah, well, I mean, you remember Morgan, Colling, and Gilbert.
Yeah,
Morgan,
Colling, and Gilbert.
Split apart at some point. It became Morgan and Morgan. But.
Yeah.
What are we? We should have been Van Dennis.
Well, Pigman and Whaleman.
We didn't have that one. I never got that shirt, and I'm still
We
upset
didn't have
about
Pigman
it.
and
We
We're
didn't
not
come out
as
with that shirt
Whaleman
together.
and Pigman though now.
That's true, but still the essence is there.
Yeah.
Like I'm one
That's
Adderall
my new
away from
company. Oh my God, are you crazy?
I'm gonna hide your Adderall.
Oh, blow back up fast.
Every night I balloon up to 189. It's huge. And then every morning back down 156, 154. I'm bouncing around.
Yeah, I'm jogging.
It's
and-
weird. I don't know how it happens, and it's got to be horribly unhealthy.
Any more questions, Sam?
We have one from Joshua Fowler. He says, "Does he actually like me?"
Ouch.
yeah.
Why are you on Facebook?
Should be working,
Here's
right?
what I would say.
Oh,
Which one
he's
of us are you talking
to,
about?
He's talking to Travis Butler.
Oh no.
And then Travis just replied, yes, I do like you. Want to meet for beers now. Travis, you're supposed to be working.
Here's one. In the state of Florida, if a paternal parent has had no contact or inquiry for said child, do they still have a parental right?
They do until the parental rights are terminated, but one basis to terminate parental rights is abandonment. So if they've abandoned the child, then you can terminate their parental rights. Usually you're doing that when like a step-parent's adopting them.
Right.
So if you have like a step-parent who wants to adopt them, you can terminate the other parent's parental rights.
And speaking of processes, that's a hard one to go through. Like the state doesn't grant that easily. Like they need a lot of different evidence, right?
Well, if you have someone who's willing to adopt the person and the other parents abandon them, typically they'll grant it, but you have to go through the procedures where you have to make sure you give everyone notice, because notice is very important there, because they don't want people's parental rights being terminated without them knowing about it, essentially.
I like it when the dad shows up to court and he hasn't seen the kid in like 5 years, and then he wants to fight for the right to have the right. Like you haven't even been here.
I'm finally
Happens
here,
all
and
the
just
time.
the fact that I'm finally here makes me a goddamn hero.
Yeah, it's like it's 5 years you had no contact, you haven't paid no child support, nothing, and then they served you paperwork, and that was what motivated
I
you.
am here to fight for Barry. I am here for him.
It's like, man, like how are you
And
not
I
more
will, yes, I
embarrassed?
will be representing myself.
Absolutely.
Like, aren't you embarrassed? Don't you just be like, don't show up, and then they'll just do the It's like getting sued for a credit card debt. You just don't show your face because you know what you did.
Yeah.
You know.
You do know.
Yeah.
My favorite is I've had cases before where I represented the husband and we showed up to court and he was like, "Who's that?" And I go, "That's your wife." And he goes, "That's my wife?"
Oh my God.
That sounds fake. Really?
Yeah, they hadn't seen each other for a few years for whatever reason, and either they gained a lot of weight or lost a lot of weight or something.
I hope she got super hot after she left him.
Was it like
I don't remember which way it was.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that is hilarious. Who's that?
I don't think they have a beer with that man. Just because even if I didn't
You
recognize
better
her,
drink a beer tonight because you're so close. You're so close.
well,
dude.
even if
You're literally only a divorce away from being that.
I wouldn't say that out loud. I'd say it in my mind,
Right,
because I'd be
right.
embarrassed and be like, "How do you not recognize your wife? It's now suing you for divorce."
You and Tommy have this way of focusing into things. I mean, who knows? Who knows how vivid
Oh,
your
man.
memories are? Although your memory is very good. That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
God, that's
I can
hilarious.
see that. Anyway, if you're injured on the go, just call Mo. I know we talked about this before, but Mo's got literally 24-hour call line support.
In
So
Samantha's group, in the semantics group, by the way, check out that podcast if you're looking for something to listen to. Somebody even asked a question, I believe, about family law.
Yep, that was just recently. Yeah,
and-
I can go check it out. and
Yeah,
see what-
and I think it was like.
does the DeWitt law firm
yeah.
cover family law? Yes, yes,
and
they do.
Yes, absolutely. So go handle your business with Mo.
Yep, and definitely if something happens and you are injured, just call Mo and see what your rights are. You don't want to be screwed or screw your family or make the wrong decision. Just check with Mo.
That
That's
was
the easiest
that
thing
Mo
to do,
was
right?
too loud. I'd like to apologize for that.
If
one.
you don't know, just call Mo.
what was
check,
this?
I said check with Mo.
I don't know.
If I know, you know, you know.
Yeah, if I know,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know. You know? Yeah.
Butler, copyright that. Does mailing things to yourself still work? I have mailed.
good question.
You should see the bundle of mail. That
It's
I have.
all over his
The
desk.
whole ideas that I mailed to myself. That I'm like,
You both are dying.
But you know what happened?
Too much
What?
caffeine.
Yeah, we both. And look what I drank.
oh no, don't drink
I
that.
drank
That
Don't
is-
this
show
new-
Mo
do-
that.
Do
We
you
don't
see
need
me
to know.
sweating? Do you see how bad
You
I'm
don't
sweating?
need more caffeine.
You're spitting everywhere.
I'm sorry.
Both
Yeah,
are
look.
cough gagging everywhere.
Well, it's because we have.
Oh, you got the vaccine.
Yeah,
I almost
only
got
have
it
half
just
the
same.
vaccine. I only have half the vaccine.
Yeah, it doesn't even count yet.
That's
No,
half as
it
good.
doesn't
It's
count.
fine.
And what does that mean, right? Like the vaccine.
I think half is like 80%. That's what my mom
That's
said.
what
She
I
made
thought.
that up.
Yeah, your mom's a doctor now.
My mom got half. She's like, I'm
Mama
80%,
Van,
I'm
doctor.
80% fine. I'm like, boy, spit in her mouth.
Oh my God, I've seen that porno.
80%. Sorry. Mo, I apologize.
We gotta get Mo out of
I know,
here.
Yeah, I know. All right. Intro to the go. Just call Mo.